Hi, creepies. I am ReAnimateHer.
I know, it just sounds like a porno all of a sudden. Some zombies start stripping their clothes off and shit.
Cat dead. Details later.
We got our ball cleavage back, ladies.
They're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming for you, Barbara.
Do you want to game and get your jollies off as well? This is Coffee Chat of Horrors. Introduce you guys to a Little Spark Films. As you can see, Catalina and Joe. Little Sparks is working on a couple of projects. They're a production company. I'm going to hand over the floor and microphone to them, and they're going to tell us a little bit about themselves. Go ahead.
Hi.
Good morning. Thank you for the nice introduction. You pronounced my last name perfectly, by the way. It's just Querida.
Oh, perfect.
It's really scary.
It's intimidating.
I'm so bad at killing people's names. It's not even funny. Even if I try to say it, even if it's a simple name and my brain's like, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, you were perfect.
I always get worried.
We're Little Spark Films. We are based in Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex in Texas, so like North Texas.
Nice.
Yep, and we are an independent film company. We've been around for almost 8 years.
Almost 9 years now. Almost 9 years. And we started off with really, really nasty cameras and can lights. And, now that is in 2019, we started shooting with giant red digital cinema cameras that shoot in 6K and Astera lightings and all sorts of amazing toys. And we made The Torturer, starring Paul T. Taylor.
Nice.
And it's doing pretty all right on film festivals.
Right on, yeah, because that's on the festival circuit as we speak.
Yes, it is. I have no idea off the top of my head where it's going to play next, though.
Oh, that's all good.
To the point where we had a whole slew of festivals in a small chunk there a few months ago, and now they're all really more spread out.
Yeah.
And now they're more spread out until the end of next year, I think.
Yeah. There's a handful of screenings around the world. We played in Indonesia, I want to say last month, and Paul won Best Actor, and they had a full-on screening and everything. The place was packed.
Wow.
And then I think the last film festival, The Torturer hits, I want to say is in November of 2022, but we're working on getting it on streaming services probably by next February.
Oh, that's awesome. And we already have questions coming in here. Lewis is the chimp. Wants to know, how can we watch your films?
Well, right now, The Torture, it's just on film festivals. So.
Oh, I was gonna say, just send us you can send either of us a message or Little Spark Films a message, and we'll just send you the password.
Yeah. Well, we're not really stingy with that. We want everyone to see it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Technically, though, we're supposed to say it's on festival run.
Right. On festival.
Kind of how we're getting around, just in case any festivals were to be,
Yeah.
Usually they don't.
And there's also a handful of our short films, like we have a stoner road trip comedy called Burnouts. We have a couple Christmas short films, fake trailers, and you can find all those on Watch Trauma Now, specifically on Grindsploitation's Part 9 and Part 10. And what those are, they're like a giant blender of short film schlock that's very grindhousey, that's produced by Tony Newton out of England, and John Brennan, the music supervisor from The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. They put these two movies together, and so a lot of our short films are on both of those.
Oh, that's awesome. That is very awesome. I have the Trauma Now app, so.
Yeah, so Grindsploitation's 9 and 10.
9 and 10?
Yeah,
and then you also have The Man Who Left. Now, is that...
Yes, that's a short film, mockumentary, rock mockumentary that we produced with one of our partners. His name is Ty Adams. He was the original director of Vicemares before other things came up that he had to take care of, so I ended up directing it. But that's a pretty fun short film. It's like 40 minutes long. You can get on Trauma Now.
Oh, nice. Right on. Miss Machiavelli wants to know, how does it feel like seeing your ideas come to life?
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I bet it is.
It's like as soon as your cast starts delivering lines, and you could see their brow like get super serious, and it's like, holy crap, you are a person that I put on paper. You were just, ink on paper there for a minute, and it's weird.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
That's awesome. Lewis, you'll be able to capture their stuff on Troma now. Also, they have an Indiegogo happening as we speak for their current project, and it's called Vicemares. If you take a look here, let me just get up the Indiegogo for you so you can take a look at the current trailer, because there's a trailer right on there. That is the link there in the guest command there, the tinyurl.com. That's the indie link right there as well. So you guys can click on that. We're going to watch the trailer for Vicemares as well. I'm going to give you guys a little bit about it. If you guys have questions, highlighting your question with channel points is really good, or tagging me so I can see your questions. And please feel free to ask away whatever you have, questions on how they got started. You guys, you know the drill. Michael or Jason, Miss Machiavelli. So she wants to know Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees.
Whew, that's a touchy subject here at little LSF camp. I mean, my first AD loves Jason. Our director of photography is into Michael Myers. As you can see, we're obsessed over here.
Yes. Yes.
We're Hellraiser.
Yeah.
I like Scream, obviously.
But I think lately I've personally been on Team Voorhees.
And so yeah, we've been on. Lately we've been on a lot. Yeah. Like, we just watched the third one the other day and screamed 3D every time we thought that it was an appropriate time for them to do 3D.
Right.
It's
actually really fun. I highly recommend.
I am a huge Jason fan myself.
Favorite drinking game.
Oh, yes. I'm a huge Jason fan myself. I love Friday the 13th franchise. Michael's okay. Miss Machiavelli is a huge Michael Myers fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like Michael Myers. Don't get me wrong.
Of course, I like Mikey as well. My number one is Jason, though, and that always gets asked here. For anyone that we have on the show, they always ask Michael or Jason.
But no one asks about Pinhead.
No, and we love Pinhead. Dylan, thank you for the host. Hello, Hatchet. No, I love Hellraiser. I actually have the comic books for Hellraiser. I have Clive Barker's comic books. I don't know if you guys have seen the comic books at all.
We have lots of them.
They're down here.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you guys are huge Hellraiser fans. Is there in the future maybe a spin-off on like the Hellraiser for you guys?
It's funny. That's actually how we got involved with Paul T. Taylor. You can tell that part of the story. Oh, okay.
No, we did a series of short films called the Hellbound Laments, which is 13 short film commercials, I guess you could say. They go from about 60 seconds to 2.5 minutes long, and so everyone's familiar with this box. Your lament configuration.
Yep.
This is from the Pyramid Gallery, based out of New York.
Yeah, they're
that's cool.
brass music boxes.
Yep. And they make different designs. As you can see, this one has
different patterns.
Patterns.
Yep.
Kind of this. I mean, if you're really into I kind of feel like this is from the movie Candyman, even though Candyman doesn't have a lament.
Right. Some of the symbolism.
Mm-hmm. But there's a bunch of different styles, and we made commercials, and we're developing that into a bigger project.
Oh, that's awesome.
The boxes, so like this one is the lament, but it's red. The boxes, this one is for a book called Sherlock Holmes and the Servants of Hell.
Oh, wow.
It's by this gentleman named Paul Kane, and Paul Kane also wrote a coffee table book called The Hellraiser Films and Their Legacy. So he saw the little book trailer that we had made for him, and he asked us if we wanted his script for The Torturer. And then The Torturer is what led us to meeting Paul, and Paul actually lives here in the Metroplex. He's the Hell Priest for Hellraiser Judgment.
Oh,
which
wow.
is the 10th installment into the series.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like Hellraiser, and then accidentally stumbled into more things because of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And yes, I love Hellraiser. My favorite is 1 and 2 of the whole franchise. What is your favorites?
Well, it's always going to be 1 and 2, but right now the one that we can't take off the television is part 3, Hell on Earth.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of people dog on that one, but what they don't seem to get,
they don't know.
They don't know. But yeah, we worked at a nightclub for several years bartending, and so when we come home at 4 a.m, stressed out from being yelled at by crazy drunk customers, we would put on part 3 to wind down, and then eventually it got to the point where we would just fast forward to the bar massacre because that's what we needed.
Right, exactly. Having to deal with patrons all day, right, and all night, especially drunk ones.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, I like number 3 as well. I think the wheels fall off the bus and get a little crazy after 3. I think 4 is a little weird, but I like the franchise as a whole. I don't think it's a horrible franchise by any means.
Yeah, I think the only one we really don't watch is, in part 5 and 8, which is Inferno and Hellworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people really enjoy Inferno.
It's actually pretty popular.
If you go on the
Is it?
Facebook groups, man, people love.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's because they have the attachment to, I just blanked out. It's Craig Schaefer. Craig Schaefer, who played Boone in Nightbreed.
Yes.
So like, cool to have that same actor again.
Yes.
I personally didn't really like the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Craig likes it anymore either. Scott Derrickson from Doctor Strange. Yeah, he doesn't like the movie either.
I do like Nightbreed. Nightbreed, I find, is an underrated creature feature film that people haven't even seen, and they kind of bash it.
Really?
Yeah, Oh, they haven't seen it because it didn't look good, and it's like it's an amazing film. I think it's highly underrated.
Yeah, I think the only cut we can't watch is the ultimate cut, but no, Nightbreed's amazing.
Yeah, because there's so many cuts now. So you have the theatrical, there's the director's. The director's cut is on Shudder, available on Shudder. There's the Cabal cut, and then the Cabal cut is still different than the director's cut. And then there's an ultimate Cabal cut, which is still different than the Cabal cut and the director's cut. Yeah, the ultimate is like almost 3 hours long, right?
It's almost 4 hours long, and it's unwatchable.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, it's too long.
Yeah.
It becomes unbearable after a while.
Yeah.
But no, it's an amazing movie nonetheless.
Yeah, well, especially because they have to work. They were using work print to put it together, so it's really, really jarring. But yeah, the production on that was really insane. Because even like when we finally got our hands on a copy of the Cabal cut, and they had like the puppetry, and they were actually able to show the puppetry of everything that they had cut out. I'm like, why would you spend money on it and then not use it?
Well, exactly.
But that was out of his control.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a producer that we were working with at the end of last year before we jumped into Vicemares, who was all about getting stuff made, but it was like, dude, you're gonna, for your independent film, you're gonna drop $10,000 on a Muppet. We were supposed to make this one Muppet that would skits out and blow up, and I told him, like, this thing, you're gonna have it on the screen for less than 45 seconds. We're gonna destroy it. You're gonna drop all this money on it, and right now when we're trying to sell the thing, you don't know if that's something that's gonna get cut out. And he just kept adding gag after gag after gag, and I'm like, this is all well and good, man, but
right.
Same story. Also, you're making us redo our storyboards every time you throw something new at us. We didn't movie after a while anymore.
Yeah, no, I thought Nightbreed was a really good film, and there's a lot of people who still haven't seen it. And I mean, I watched the one on Shudder. I have the DVD, and I love director's cuts because I love listening to the behind the scenes stuff and the actors. I think every movie should have director's cuts. Because you have a better appreciation once you listen to what goes on behind the scenes. Because most people that watch movies, they don't understand what goes into it. They don't understand the hard work and the dedication that goes into doing the makeup and the filming and the editing. I think every film should have a director's cut.
You are so incredibly right when you say people don't understand.
No.
Especially lately. But, we saw some guy say that, what he said Halloween Kills cost the same amount of money.
Oh, yeah. Someone said Halloween Kills looked like it was $100,000 movie. And I was like...
I think I spit out my coffee when I read that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, it's fine if you don't like it. He actually really wasn't a fan of it. That's, that's not that, but that wasn't really the discussion that wasn't the issue that I had with what he said. I had the issue with what he said because $100,000 sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. And specifically for Halloween Kills, I mean, even in the first few minutes of the movie, the amount of money that was spent on, all of the costumes and the actors, and then they had all those stunt people,
a fire.
I mean, it's really expensive.
That firefighter scene at the beginning of the movie was $100,000 easy.
Maybe more. I mean, I think it was probably more.
Yeah.
I mean, on the insurance alone, I don't even want to.
But it's a lot of stuff like that when making flicks and. But I agree. Yeah, director's cuts make a huge difference. Like last year, was it Arrow that released Southland Tales?
Southland Tales, yeah. Last year, Arrow released a new version, the Cannes cut of Southland Tales, which is a Richard Kelly film. He did Donnie Darko, and it's so ridiculously different. Like, it's insane how much he was forced to cut out of what actually ended up being what they actually ended up releasing. And I remember I had watched the movie back when it was released in 2006 or something, because it was just such a weird cast. I was like, okay, sure, I'll watch this, And now, within this past year, having a completely different view of the story is pretty cool.
Yeah. And that person who said that it looked like a $100,000 budget film, have they ever seen a film that was actually a budget for $100,000? I mean, Halloween 1978 was a $300,000 budget. So you cannot compare Halloween 78 to Halloween Kills.
Yeah. Also, the crew for 78 was like...
you sent me a crew picture the other day. It was like 10 people.
It was like 10, 15 people. Crew picture for Halloween Kills is pushing almost 80 people, I think.
Yeah.
On-set crew.
Yeah, the cinematography alone. I mean, that's what I don't understand. People will criticize things without realizing what goes into it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Halloween Kills. I liked it. I gave it a 6 out of 10, and I'm not gonna spoil it for others because I know other people haven't seen it yet. But a lot of hard work went into that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true too. I mean, there's a lot of movies that I'm not. The way we've been putting it lately is sometimes you're not the audience. You're not the intended audience for a film.
Right.
And I think that's sometimes I guess causes a lot of arguments with where, I really didn't like XYZ movie, blah, blah, blah. And it should be okay for us to not have the same taste in movies,
for sure.
I mean, I'm happy that we're having kind of this really pretty awesome moment right now with horror. So
yes,
I'm thankful
we are.
for that.
Oh yeah, with the amount of TV shows that are hitting the independent film world. Yeah. I mean, the independent film world is exploding as well.
Yeah.
Which one's exploding?
The independent film. All independent films. If you go back even 5 years ago, they weren't as popular or as mainstream as they're becoming now. And over the last couple of years, you actually see more independent production companies, more independent filmmakers, and it's really awesome to see. And especially in the horror genre, they have been exploding left, right, and center. And I always try to have them come on to my show because I love independent films. I love independent production. The fact that you guys put so much blood, sweat, and tears into your work, and the fact that you guys are fans of the genre.
Have you seen Dogface?
No, I have not. I'm going to have to write this down. Dogface.
Lower budget independent film. And
I had so much
we
fun.
put it on because we were like, why not? You know, this seems intriguing. And it was really fun. It was called a trap house. It was called a trap house horror. It's super fun. They worked with what they had, and you can tell these constraints that they were in, but they still made a really interesting story.
The script was so good.
It was really funny too.
It had a slow start, but a quarter of the way in the movie, they had us rolling around laughing. And the movie looked like it was shot on a DSLR, and it didn't have, it was clearly an independent picture, but they got it finished. So the first thing always is finish your project, but then they got it sold. And
wow.
It's a fun movie.
I wrote it down. I'm going to try to find that film.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi.
Tubi? Yeah. Okay, so I'll have to see. I'm in Canada, so my Tubi is a little different than the U.S. Tubi, just like with Shudder. Canadian Shudder is not the greatest. I mean, I love Shudder, don't get me wrong. Canadian Shudder is okay. But you guys in the States, you guys get better movies. And I gather it's because of your FCC, and we have the CRTC, so we're stuck with X amount of Canadian and other percentage. I know I need a VPN, Macabre. I know.
But, it's easy to find David Cronenberg films where you're from, right?
Oh, yes, it is. He's Canadian. One of my favorites. Love that man. We have a lot of Canadian made films, which believe it or not, a lot of horror movies are made in Canada.
Oh yeah. Well, Nightbreed was shot in Canada.
Yes, it was. There's tons of movies, and I know it's also because of the tax breaks people get. They get the production companies they do get tax breaks here. Plus, depending on when you come here, the U.S. dollar is worth more, so you're kind of paying less for stuff. The last time I looked, it was for the exchange rate. It took $1.31 Canadian to make $1 US. So your money almost basically doubles when you come here. Yeah.
Person I've ever heard say that.
Yeah. That's why we do get a lot of films up here. What they're right now they're doing Predator. There's a new Predator coming. They're filming it in Calgary, which is about an hour and change away from me. They're also, what's the other thing that they're filming here? Crap, I can't remember the other movie. They're filming a TV show here as well. Oh, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is also filming, I think, in Edmonton, which is another, hour and 45 for me. They do a lot of filming here, mainly on the East Coast. I find more on the East Coast of Canada than here.
Right. Yeah. It's usually on the East Coast. I see people saying a lot that they're so familiar with Vancouver. And so when they're watching shows or movies where they're saying, "Oh yeah, you're in the States," and they're like, "No, this is Vancouver."
Yeah.
And it's funny because I get that since we're from Dallas.
Dallas looks like Chicago.
Yeah, RoboCop was filmed here in downtown Dallas because it looked so futuristic. And so whenever we wander into downtown Dallas, I'm just like,
yeah.
This is obviously Dallas, but it's because we live here, so we know.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh,
but
well.
yeah, Canada is really, really cool too, in the sense that, with your incentives, they're significantly better because Canada has more respect, I think, for filming in general. So they're going to be more open to different types of productions. And it's so funny because we finally watched Cronenberg's Crash for the first time a month ago. And first of all, we really, really liked it. We'd always been told, it's so weird, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was incredibly interesting. The ideas were very, very insightful. But I always wondered, how does he sell his stuff? I would like him to teach a class on how to pitch.
Yes.
Because the stuff he gets away with is always so impressive to me.
His son's a good filmmaker too.
Yeah, Brandon Cronenberg's great.
Yes, he is.
Just wrapped filming on his latest one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm already in love with it.
I love the fact that he's taking in his father's footsteps. I love Cronenberg. I love his body horror, his special effects, everything about. Even when he's started out as directing and the thoughts that go on in that man's head, And then he brings it out to the screen, and I heard that Brandon was getting involved, and I seen Possessor, and I was like, oh, I like this. And you can see that he's starting to take into his father's footsteps, but also bring something of his own uniqueness to his work. And I think it's great.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't even remember how we ended up watching Antiviral, which is his first film. I think it was just like we were just walking around a store, and we liked the cover art.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah,
it stars a Texas actor.
Landry. Is his name Landry Caleb Jones or
I believe
Jones?
So.
Caleb Landry.
He's in the movie Get Out, and he plays Banshee in X-Men First Class. But
okay, yes.
He's from West Texas, I believe.
Yeah, he's from Texas.
And he's someone that we've actually wanted to work with. He's a great actor. He's freaking scary, man. Last Exorcist. If you've seen The Last Exorcist, a lot of people don't like that movie because it's, I don't know, it's not you don't really believe it as a found footage film, but
right.
I don't care. The story gets me so hard, and the gags they put into it.
It's you so hard.
Yeah, real hard. Phrasing.
Yeah. We have a question from Aiko G. If you could remake a movie of horror, what would it be and why?
Sorry, if you could remake something?
Yeah, if you could remake a horror movie, what would it be and why?
Oh.
Well, okay. What are the stipulations? We tend to get bogged down with details a lot. Like, a lot. Like, oh, okay, well, if I only have, this amount of money, then you can't really, okay, I guess we'll go with sky's the limit.
Exactly, unlimited.
Now that the question's been asked, development begins on this episode.
That is exactly what...
That's our problem.
That is exactly what Kevin Smith did with Tusk, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was on a podcast, and they started knocking the idea around, and then he ended up making the flippin' movie. Okay, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Question, and we completely didn't answer. If we could remake anything, well, I guess we can't remake Hellraiser because that's already in double development. It's already spoken for. Lord of Illusions. I'm going to go with Lord of Illusions.
Oh, nice.
That's a complicated film.
Yep.
Yes.
It's going to be closer to the.
Last Illusion.
To the Last Illusion, which was from the Books of Blood. No, wait, I lied. It's not Lord of Illusions. It's frickin' Dread. Dread.
Dread's a good movie.
There we go.
Dread's a great movie.
I hate it.
Oh, you hated it. I think it's the same. Let's make sure we're talking about the same Dread movie. Because I think there's a couple.
This one, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I actually like that one. Joy Toy showed me that one.
No, it's my personal problems with being one of those weirdos who's like, it needs to be closer to the book. So
yep.
That is really the reason why.
I got you.
I had read the story before I watched the movie, and then I watched the movie like immediately after reading the story, which is not a good idea for someone like me.
And that's like with people with Stephen King's books, right? They go and they read The Shining and then they watch the movie and they're like, oh my God, or they read one of his books and then watch one of his movies or adaptations and they don't like it. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah, it was funny because we actually just watched Misery again the other day. And instead of watching Misery, I ended up complaining about how different it was from the book. And then we ended up going down a rabbit hole about The Shining, where I rambled about how it's different from the book. And then we didn't even watch the movie.
And then David Cronenberg chimes in and goes...
That was a few days ago. That was fun.
Cronenberg said Kubrick didn't know horror, didn't really understand horror.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that.
Kubrick's take on horror is
different.
Not a traditional take.
It's not a traditional take because even 2001: Space Odyssey or Eyes Wide Shut they're not horror films, but under the right perception, they are 100% horror films.
Yep.
And horror is mostly, in our opinion, perspective. It's where horror is where the heart is. A lot of people don't like. Okay, so like Grindhouse, like Planet Terror, that's a horror movie. Let's be honest. It's a horror action movie, but a lot of people see it more as a comedy. And I have friends who are really big into reading into horror, Clive Barker and such. And one of my friends, he's like, I freaking hate Planet Terror because he can't stand watching it because of the scene where his son, where Robert Rodriguez's son is handed a gun and he blows his brains off
Yes.
screen. That 2 seconds. That's a hard scene to
It's
watch.
a very hard scene.
Before I was a parent, before I had kids, that was a hard scene for me to watch, but it got me. And that is horrifying. And I understand the sentiment of where he's coming from. I don't like movies that have, kids being, as the feature of children being hurt or given guns to hurt other people. But I understand the sentiment of where Robert Rodriguez was going with that for himself. And he even went out of his way to make an alternate version for his son to watch where he didn't die. And they would just run off with a different camera and have him running around with Marley Shelton. And, it's cool to hear those stories and see the process that, it's like this guy is taking care of his family while making a horror movie. And he's doing what terrifies him the most, which is, the loss of his child, but he's, trying to make it fun. He's working on his art and considering the factors around him with just everything that's happening around him. And Planet Terror is a pretty rough one to watch.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
In particular.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of my favorites. I love Planet Terror. And I did, on our normal Coffee Chat of Horrors, we autopsy films, and I autopsied Planet Terror. And I actually found an interview that goes into that scene and what he did to protect his son from actually seeing that scene. So he did take precautions and took care of making sure that his son didn't see what was actually happening. And that's why you don't actually see the son shoot himself. You hear it, and your brain obviously thinks it.
Yeah.
But he did take precautions in making sure that his son was not open and seeing what was happening to him, right? So, and that's why I love like director's cuts and interviews, because you get to see behind that, and what care he did take in making sure his son didn't see that. 'Cause that would be very traumatizing at that young age to see, to see yourself shoot yourself. But in a reality, and that's why it makes it so scary, in the reality, a child with a gun, okay? So, I mean, that's a scary thought, not knowing what to do with it and, pointing at it at yourself, right? And I do agree with you. I feel that anything can be considered a horror if it makes you, you're squeamish or high anxiety or fearful. That's a horror movie. Like the Wizard of Oz and Return of Oz, for me, I consider horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. There's a lot of films, even some cartoons that I feel are horror, but that is, that's how I see horror.
We showed our kid Osmosis Jones, and the whole time we were like begging for it to turn into a body horror film.
Right? Yeah, Osmosis Jones. There are some films that are, that aren't considered horror. You watch it and you're like, oh my God. It gives you that.
Because I went on this thing where I had to watch Fern Gully. I was like, I just have to freaking watch it, and we couldn't find it on VHS. We finally found it on DVD, and Tim Curry's character. And I was sitting there on IMDb reading the trivia and stuff, and they said that the song, Tim Curry's character's song, was even more inappropriate, like it's even more sexualized. And they had to cut it down, and they had to cut it down so much that apparently there is a version of the song where it's like 5 minutes long, and it's just all kinds of weird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That is a dirty song.
Yeah.
A dirty character.
I love Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Miss Machiavelli wants to know, did you guys see Charlie's Farm? It's a 2014 Australian slasher.
No. I've never heard of it. No.
Write it down and go find it. Charlie's Farm is one of my favorite slasher films of 2000s. It's Australian made. Kane Hodder is in it. Lots of great kills, lots of great action, and a huge twist. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's one of my favorite slashers of the 2000 era.
And you say Kane Hodder, I'm already sold. So
yeah. Well, anything with that man, I watch. Kane Hodder is a friggin' legend.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm gonna check out Dogface, and that's what I love about the horror community as a whole. Just you can sit and talk about different things and have opinions on the matter, and see different views on movies that you've watched. And then also, there's so much in horror that I haven't seen every horror movie. And to go back and forth and be like, oh yeah, you need to watch this one, and oh, you need to watch this one. I think that's great. And yes, Joy Toy, we need that Fern Gully song. We'll find it. Regal one. Go ahead.
I would be surprised if it's on YouTube somewhere.
It's gotta be.
Because like I guess you found it, a demo of Barry Gibb singing Grease. Because we had an argument one night, and I told him that the song itself, Grease, from the movie, we're not going to get into the movie. I don't like it.
We don't like Grease.
Anyway, so the song itself, though, was written by Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, and he was convinced that it was written by Frankie Valli, and so we had a back and forth, and I was like, it's Barry Gibb!
I'm wrong.
But anyway, it was cool to hear the song in a different way because it was Barry Gibb. So you have the Bee Gees actually singing the theme song just on a piano, and it's a completely different song.
We're going to make our disco slasher one day.
Nice. Oh, that'll be fun. Disco slasher.
Yeah, we've actually never done a slasher. And it's back to like earlier when I said we have problems with sometimes with the details.
Right.
Yeah. Slasher. I have tons and tons of ideas for literally every other kind of subgenre. Slasher, nothing. I can never think of anything. And you'd think that it would be really easy. For some reason,
No.
I don't know why my brain doesn't work.
And I agree. The devil is in the details. Like, the details are very important. That saying says, devil's in the details.
Yeah.
If you guys do a slasher, make it a female. We need more women. I really want a female slasher that can stand up with Jason Voorhees. I mean, we've had female slashers, American Mary, so forth and so on. But I want a female slasher that can stand up there with Scream, or Ghostface, and Bubba. They're mortal killers, right? Those are the mortal killers. And then we have our immortals, Freddy, Jason, Michael. And we don't have a female that can stand. I mean, we have paranormals and ghost ones, right? But that's not the same as having a full-on female slasher, whether she's a witch or whatever it is. We don't have one.
Would you consider Dead Shack a slasher film?
No, that was a zombie film.
Yeah.
Dead Shack?
Mm-hmm. That was a zombie film.
Just it happened to have a serial killer in the mix?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then never mind, I'm wrong. I enjoyed that movie.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We do have female slashers, but they're one-offs, right? They're not a continuous franchise, and they're mortal, which it's not a bad idea, because we do have two mortal iconic killers. We have Ghostface, who is human, and we have Bubba from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's human as well. They're mortal figures, but we don't have any female figures, and I've always wanted one, even back in the day when I was younger. It's like, why don't we have... because women can be just as vicious, if not more, because we use our emotions.
Yeah.
And we do have paranormal, right? We have a ton of paranormal. La Llorona it comes to mind when we have paranormal. A mother, right? We have Mama. We have a lot of paranormal women killers or myths. When it comes to iconic slasher, we don't have any.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You got me thinking.
You know what? I'm going to say the closest that I can think of is Tragedy Girls. They're slashers. And it sucks because, but back to, like you said, that's a one-off. I don't know if they were intending on making any more of those, but we finally watched it a few months ago, and I really, really liked Tragedy Girls.
That movie was fun.
Yeah, and I think that they count as slashers.
Yeah. I can't think of a single one, man.
That's literally the only one I can think of. And that's still a fairly recent movie. I mean, that movie came out within the past 5 years.
Isn't there a comic book coming out or a sequel?
I have no idea.
Remember.
Interesting. Soska Sisters started a American Mary. Have you guys seen American Mary?
Yes. Yeah.
I think she would have been perfect, but they kill her off in the end. She would have been a great slasher. She has a reason being what, how it all started for her backstory, and she's got a doctor background. And I think if they would have expanded on her instead of killing her off, she could have been a contender up there for that.
Maybe they wanted to keep her alive. We really don't know. You hear stories all the time where, the main character dies or supposed to die or supposed to live, and your people, flipping the bill on the movies like, well, I want it done this way, and you kind of got to make compromises that ruin your creative integrity.
Exactly.
But movie done.
Yeah, and I noticed when filmmakers have big studios and big money behind them, they lose their creative control. And
they have to make to a degree.
To a degree. I mean, there's been a plenty like Clive Barker and John Carpenter who have had plenty of their ideas, their creative ideas, cut. No, we don't want this, or whatever it may be. Where I find independent film companies like Trauma Industries, like Trauma Entertainment, they are allowed to have those creative ideas. And what Kaufman and Hertz brought to the industry in the 70s, there wasn't many that were doing that. And they were able to keep the majority of their creative ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it came out of their pocket and stuff, but like my favorite is Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
Oh, yeah, we just watched that yesterday.
My favorite. One of my favorites. And that almost bankrupt Lloyd and his wife because they banked that whole thing.
Yeah, they're actually, I don't think they've made the money back yet.
They haven't made money
because,
back.
Like Lloyd, when he goes to, from place to place, he does, what are they called?
The screenings?
The talks.
Oh, the master classes.
The master classes.
Oh,
if he does master class, what he does is he still shows the poultry in motion with the BS and everything.
It's like a 2-hour documentary on the making of. It's hilarious.
It's so stressful.
I think my favorite Trauma documentary is Farts of Darkness, and it's a documentary on the movie Terror Firma, which is my favorite Trauma film.
I love Terra Firma.
It's another take on Phantom of the Opera, I guess. There's a killer on the movie set.
Right. I love Terra Firma. There is a little over 2-hour documentary that I seen on trauma itself. It's on Canadian Amazon Prime. It's really good. It goes into all of the film, a little bit in all of the films and how Lloyd got started and behind the scenes stuff. It was a really good documentary. I cannot remember it for the life of me.
We'll find it. Trust me.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, I really enjoy those documentaries because they are so informative. And right now I'm recording the audiobook for Make Your Own Damn Movie.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's so funny because like the book series itself, it feels like when you're reading it, it kind of feels like, oh, this is just all fun and games and jokes. But I mean, he's got a lot of really important filmmaking information stuck in between the lines. You just got to find them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's oops. Just back that up there. All right. No, that's awesome. And you're doing the audio for the audio book?
Yeah, Lloyd hit her up to do it.
Well, no, what happened was that he, I think Trauma Bart is...
He's a super fan.
Yeah, he's like a super fan, but he was in #Shakespeare Shitstorm, and Trauma Bart had like made a joke about it, and then like we started joking back and forth, and somehow Lloyd got involved with the conversation. I still don't even really know what happened. All I know is that I jokingly said, I volunteer, and then Lloyd was like, okay. And now I'm like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have done that.
And now he expects it done. So
at some point, we will need to hurry up and get that done and sent in.
So there's a Make Your Own Damn Movie audiobook coming out.
At some point.
Yeah. Some point. That's awesome. That is very awesome. Regal 1-13, she has a question. She says, do you believe in cursed films? And if you were to experience a curse in creating a film, what would you do?
Damn, dude. Safety to humans.
Safety to humans. Yep.
The trauma rules of production. It's so weird because we're actually not we're not religious, but at the same time we really do love like exorcism films. I don't know why we really like religious horror, but we're not religious. It doesn't make sense. I still have no idea why or what is wrong with us, but if we were on a cursed film set, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think that if too many bad things were happening, they would probably be happening in pre-production.
Yeah.
That's like my theory as of right now. Like, I don't think that we would get to the point where we were in like a cursed film set situation, because we're very much so like, if the universe is telling you no, or the universe is sending you signals like, hey, maybe don't go down that path, we don't really fight it. And we're just like, okay, I guess we're not made for this right now. And then we'll like just do something different.
And
Does that make sense?
That's
I don't know if that's a non-answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good answer.
It's the concept of coasting or riding the wave, you know? And, okay, so like the torturer, back to the torturer. Sorry. The score was done by my good friend Paragraph, who him and I have been friends since we were 13 years old, and now we're in our mid-30s. So we've been friends for this long, and you know, he did the score, and I'm forever grateful. And his band is called Manifestive. They're freaking awesome. You should check them out.
What's the? Let me write them down. Hold on, I gotta move my cat out of the way. She always comes and steals the show. What was their name? Manifesto?
Manifestive. Yeah, no E at the end. Manifestive ends with a V. But anyway,
I dropped it in the chat.
Yeah. So
Perfect,
Paragraph
thank
did my
you.
score, and then like everybody, everyone has their downtime, their mental downfalls, and we get things out because of COVID. And Paragraph, he sometimes is my guiding light, and he always told me the only reason Manifestive is
on the path they're on.
On the path they're on, yeah. And they're huge over in Thailand, but it's because he just rides the universal wave. I know it sounds hippie, but like she said a second ago, if you have a lot of stuff fighting against you and you don't really understand why things negatively are happening around you, it's a pretty clear sign that maybe you need to pump the brakes, reassess your situation, and let's go a different path. And that's kind of what we've been doing. And it's a very dangerous way to live. But thankfully, we've had no curse sets.
Sorry, I'm just over here like cataloging the cursed film series on Shudder.
Oh, that's a good series. The Exorcist was a huge one. Like that one there had so many downfalls. The universe saying, "Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this," and they worked through it anyways.
The John Landis episode killed us.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss that. The Exorcist one, but back to since we're not religious, I don't see us ever doing an exorcism type film,
right?
Because it's not something that we believe in. Although I love exorcism type films, like I really, really enjoyed The Cleansing Hour on Shudder. That was a fairly new one. That was so fun.
That was so fun. I love that one. I like the special effects, and I love the devil that they did.
Yeah, it's really creative too, how they did it and how they put it together, which was cool because we haven't seen anything like that yet. And I always like it whenever people do something that's it's like, yes, you've seen it this way, but have you seen it this way?
Exactly. I like cultural lore and myth horror myself. Like I love learning. Like I watched a couple of Indonesian horror, and it's based on their lore and mythology that they have within their own culture. I love those kinds of films. Not necessarily religious, but just their culture in itself. As every culture, like The Old Ways. Yes, Joy Toy, The Old Ways. I love that film. Have you guys seen The Old Ways?
We have not. We still haven't watched it. We've been like this month has been weird for us, just like personally at home. So
we're getting ready to dive back into shooting. Actually, that's why it's like whatever movies are on in the background, and if we do sit down and watch a movie, we make sure it's like something brand new.
Right.
The Old Ways is brand new. Like
Old
literally
Ways
came
is
out.
brand new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive. It's about brujas and some of the Mexican culture. I personally loved the film. I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of good reviews.
Yeah. I would definitely suggest it when you guys have a calm setting, when you're not shooting and all that fun stuff that you guys do. But while we're talking about shooting, I want to show the trailer to Vicemares. I want to show off that trailer and talk about Vicemares and how it's in production as we speak. Or are you guys still shooting, or are you just waiting for?
Well,
Go back for a little bit.
It's a little bit. The movie is I need to shoot my bad trip sequences.
Gotcha.
And when I say that, I'm already telling the audience there's a lot of drug use in this movie.
Oh, yes, because the I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, it's not like a little bit of pot and LSD. Like this is some pretty heavy duty drug usage that we're doing in the movie, and like it's all simulated. It's a film.
Of course.
I mean, it's all props, but I mean, it's the subject matter is pretty dark, and it's in a very light area. So nice. I hope you'll like it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give them a little detail on Vicemares. Vicemares is a story about a sleazy, drug-addled lawyer, Sinclair. Oh God, I'm gonna.
Sinclair Isaiah Niedenthal.
Niedenthal. What a last name. Played by Nathan Gresham, a man who is on the run from his impending divorce. Sinclair revisits an old vacation spot he and his late father would frequent in his youth. Only this time he brings along a hefty bag of party favors to help with the escape. After an intense physical altercation with the pizza delivery guy, Darby, who is played by the movie's screenwriter Corey W.
Corey W.
Ari, Sinclair's tailspin of the escape escalates into a drug-fueled battle of egos. That sounds so fun.
The word to egos, that is way better.
Yeah, but it's it's a
just
rough.
Let it speak for itself.
Let it speak for itself.
Yes, we're gonna watch the trailer. I watched it already. I'm excited. I like these types of films. Let's see. Let's make sure you guys can hear it, and let me know if you guys can hear the film, the trailer. Okay. I don't hear anything. Oh, do you guys hear it?
Not on your no.
Okay, let's rewind this. Let's pause it. Let's see what the hell my sound is doing here. Oh, it sounded good. You guys heard it?
I can hear it through the app.
Okay, perfect.
He couldn't hear it because his volume was turned down.
Oh, okay, no problem.
I know you're getting drugged up in that piece of crap cabin where you and your loser dad spend every summer. Don't lie to me.
Hi, Dad. 3386. And as I said, I apologize. Don't turn your back on me!
You're him, aren't you?
Why the hell are you even talking to him? You, my boy, are in breach of contract.
Highly sought after by the soldier on the go for induced extended alert.
Extra cheese, blue cheese, goat cheese, red peppers, mushrooms, green peppers, spinach. Oh, would you look at that? You accepted a title and a wage to style confections for Crazy Pizza.
Dude, what the hell? They are just olives. Are you outside of your mind?
Even though the ticket specifies,
The one's been flailing all night long, from jubilant excess and joy to fiery anger to bone-crushing despair. A mewing child lashing out. It's a story of desolation and domination.
Don't knock over the poison.
That's awesome. And this is your band. That was your friend's band, Manifestive, at the end?
Oh, at the very end? No, that was that's.
What is that, from Forrest or something?
No.
That was just something you grabbed?
That's something I grabbed because I was running low on time, and then as the year progressed, because I've been working on this all year long in post production, and then just the first thing that I was tasked to do before I actually edited the film was to make the trailer for the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it became this whole thing where it was like, I have to focus on putting the movie together before, because we're on our own deadline,
Right.
And I had to focus on putting the actual movie together and progress. And if I stayed in trailer mode, I would just never finish, And then just as we got closer and closer and closer to releasing the thing, and we would screen it at theaters. If we had an event at a movie theater or whatever, we would go ahead and screen it. She screened it for the Dallas Producers Association a couple of weeks ago. But this is the most tightest the trailer's been. So it's like, okay, we're running our Indiegogo. Let's go ahead and release it. And where it is. And this is the Indiegogo trailer.
Right.
So.
Yes, and that link right there, guys, if you are interested in backing independent films and want to help create some of the awesome films that we get to see, right there is the Indiegogo link. It's right there. You can click on it. It'll bring you to their Indiegogo, and you can take a look at some of the awesome perks and things that they have going on. I'm a huge fan of indie. I support a lot of indie films. And I love backing them to see people's dreams become a reality. And that's what's the best part about it. Is you guys do a lot of hard work and behind the scenes, and to show that comes out in your films.
Yeah.
Everyone that I've saw, independent filmmaker wise, you definitely see that love for that genre or what they're creating in their films.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What we have left to shoot, I mean, if you notice, there was some, evil-looking sock puppets in there. And, the movie hinges on vice-induced nightmares. And they grow as the movie progresses.
Right.
And they get more intense. And that's what we need to shoot. We got a little bit of it. We shot 95% of the movie already. And then I put it together. And we got a little bit of our Vicemares. Put in there. And what I need to do now is just, get that last little bit so I can tighten up the film, and then we could dive into audio mix,
right,
mastering, color grading, but all our that's going to be fine and easy for us. And the audio is going to be, different from what you hear on the trailer.
Right.
But it's the VFX, and it's not an easy task. And animation,
yeah.
That's the hurdle that we need to get through. And we've never done animation, and we've been looking at our options, and we've found some pretty awesome animators and illustrators. But if you look at the key art with the pizza and the sock puppet coming out of it, our animation is going to match that, and we are going to deliver on what the key art says. Except we got to get there.
Which is right there. There is one of the images for Vicemares. Right there.
That artwork is by Anthony Galatis from Athens, Greece.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. I like the way it looks. That's what's also intrigued me about seeing this. That when I was talking with who the hell was I talking with? I was talking about this actual piece of art, because it's definitely something that would come out of I would think, a drug-fueled nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, pizza, it looks like there's an eyeball in that, and yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we're going with it, but we got to get there first. We have to we shoot. We're the plan is to shoot on November 8th. Get this done, put it together, and then we're gonna finally finish this puppy up, and then jump into the next thing.
Right on.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, that is very exciting. Sounds like a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the film Mandy. That, drug-fueled fest. I really loved Mandy. I know Mandy got crapped on by a lot of people, especially like film Twitter. But how? How? It was a great film. The visuals were awesome.
It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's one of the best movies in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, Nicolas Cage did amazing, and I love him in horror. I love him in any kind of sci-fi or horror-related movie. Did Mandy help inspire you for your current film? What inspired you to create Vicemares?
Oh God, I want to Panic. The last movie I had watched before we went off to go shoot was not Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, even though that was pretty much where I should have gone. But it was a Terry Gilliam film, and it was Brazil. We watched Brazil right before we left, and I did, but I tried really hard to stay away from things I know would influence me, because we already had our shot list down, and I had an idea of what I wanted everything to look like. But the setting ended up changing a week before we had to shoot, from a motel to these cabins, and it became a cabin in the woods film, which is pretty awesome, but it threw me for a loop. And, I want to say halfway, not like 3 days into the shoot, we realized if we actually shot at the motel that we were intending, we would have been kicked out and the cops would have been called on us because, movies are an illusion, and, movies are shot on sets when you take motel settings. So being in isolation helped a lot. As far as inspiration goes, I really just kind of fought against my own imagination, to see what we could make that would not, resemble something else, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Well, a part of it is that, the original story, we weren't involved with, like the idea. It's not our idea. It's not our story. The script is our friend's script, but we weren't really involved. We were just kind of we were gonna help, like on the sidelines. We were gonna be on the sidelines and just kind of like help, and then
produce. And
then the person who did come up with the idea and everything, he wasn't giving the script writer. He wasn't giving him any direction, like at all.
Right.
And so that was kind of like difficult for Corey, is his name, Corey, his nerd scum. And he was getting kind of frustrated, and I guess he came to you and was like, hey, and started asking for your advice. And that's when you started giving input. Yeah. Right. And then, and it was still supposed to be like in a hotel, in a motel. And then the other person, he wanted it to, the original director, it was called Wages of Sin, for Sinclair.
Yep.
And then, there was like supposed to be a tank at the end or something. It was mostly because he could get a tank and he wanted to use it, which also is fine. Like,
right.
We do that all the time. It's like, oh, we have this thing, let's use it. Yeah. But it was going to be a completely different movie, and he wanted to film it like on DSLRs, and he wanted it to be really gritty and low budget.
A two-day
like
wing
2 or 3 day, wing it in a motel. Like, don't even tell the motel people. Like super guerrilla. Okay, very guerrilla style. And that is a legitimate way to make things, but he still wanted our director of photography to do it, but with all these constraints. And that made him uncomfortable because he likes to have more control. And he likes to shoot like on his nice, red cameras and everything. Right. So eventually we got to the point where it's like, okay, do we want this project done, or are we going to let it die? And then that's where Joe came in and like took it over and everything. And, we all figured out a way to get it done. So that's how it ended up changing so much within that time period.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's awesome. It's awesome to see where it starts and then where it's evolving, and then I'm excited to see what the finishing product is going to be.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird.
Weird is good in my eyes. Weird is good. Natalie had a question when we were watching the trailer. She was saying, if I may ask for Little Spark Films, are you Hispanic, Latinx, Latina, or Latino? If you are, I feel like many of us have been brought up in such religious backgrounds, and when we grow up, we just believe as we want. We look for things we were told as kids that were bad for us to watch, and then we end up in the exorcism films, religious horror, and being fascinated by it from my experience.
Yeah, I think that is completely true. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm Mexican. You're half. So.
I'm half Mexican, and
But you were raised Catholic.
I got a white dad and a Mexican mom, and my grandpa's my Mexican grandpa's a World War II vet who just turned 100 years old this past August, and he's a widower. But yeah, I grew up Roman Catholic. I went to when I was in pre-K in first grade, I went to a Catholic school called Holy Family. And I don't know why I ended up not going to that after first grade. I was told I got kicked out. And I went to another Catholic school called St. Luke's. And I was there for 7 years. And the school didn't get along with my family. The school didn't get along with me. I asked a lot of questions during religious class, but I excelled in Greek mythology. And I got kicked out of there. But they allowed me to keep coming to school on Sundays to do my confirmation class. And if you're Catholic, getting confirmed as one of the 7 sacraments. It's kind of like a communion, confession, that kind of shit. And I got kicked out of confirmation class because I didn't take it seriously. And I never spoke Spanish growing up. My Spanish right now, I don't even pretend like I can do it. But yeah, I grew up Roman Catholic, and I remember a priest his name was Father Doug. He's a cardinal now for the Dallas Diocese. And I remember him telling me about The Exorcist and how much of a good movie it was. And then, here we are, fast forward to, season 2 of Joe Bob Briggs. We're watching The Exorcist Part 3. And come to find out, William Peter Blatty was a devout Catholic apologist. And he made movies like The Ninth Configuration, and he wrote The Exorcist, and he wrote and directed the third one, which was technically supposed to be the second. But, even, Catholics or Christians, doesn't matter if you have a history in it. You know where your brain's gonna go. I used to get shit from my parents because when Scream hit VHS, my mom was like, "You want to live this shit now?" And whatever, Mom, get lost. I watched all sorts of stuff growing up. So the hypocrisy in Mexican Christian families is totally freaking insane. I watched all sorts of horror movies, but they let me watch them, but then they'd give me shit for watching them. Then they neglect me as a child, and I'd still watch them. So whatever. I'm not religious, and I like spooky things.
Yeah, I feel you.
Sorry.
No. I definitely I can relate to that because I grew up in a pagan and Roman Catholic family. I am Italian Irish with a whole bunch of other shit mixed up in that. Yeah. And I was raised in pagan religion where my aunts and uncles are Roman Catholic, and then there's also just Catholic in my family. So all of that entangles. So I definitely feel you because my Roman Catholic family didn't like my mom and me and my sister because we were pagan, and God forbid you follow a different path than the norm, right? Because they have their own thing. So I definitely get that whole rigmarole that you've gone through.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, she didn't even get to watch horror movies. Star Wars was hidden in the grown-up box.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it was.
So growing up, you weren't allowed to watch any horror films?
No. I was raised Southern Baptist.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
And she's more Mexican than me. And in Texas, when you're Mexican, you're Catholic. That's just how it is in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how it is. Sorry.
She's like, okay. We have a question from Faceless. What are some of your quintessential weird horror movies in your opinion?
Oh God, I don't know why it's like that.
I'm sorry. We got you can't see this side of the screen, but
Tons.
You went there and then you didn't grab anything. Sorry. Quintessential weird horror. I mean, I love Alejandro Jodorowsky, so I would vote for like Santa Sangre. I mean, yeah, that's a slasher. Santa Sangre is a slasher film, but I mean, it's more than that because there's so much. There's so much mental. There's so much discussion of mental health about that. And man, sorry. And then I think Santa Sangre is on Shudder. It might be on Shudder right now. I was just reminded I have to. I'm actually doing right now for Daily Grindhouse. I'm writing about Alejandro Jodorowsky's films.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I've kind of just been like slowly, and it's so funny because it's really difficult to try to like break those films down. Especially like I had the hardest time ever with Fando Elise because there's so much discussion of the tarot and how it all fits together. And oh, by the way, ReAnimateHer, I've been loving your little posts with the tarot. Like, I think that's so interesting that how you're able to make it so concise.
Thank you.
Because it is something that's just such a huge idea, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Sangre for me. I like, oh my God, The Last Circus.
By
Alex de la Iglesia.
Yeah.
The Last Circus. That's on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a Spanish film. Beautiful, and that one I would say is more grindhouse than like horror, but it's and that movie we just watched on a whim. Like I liked the cover art, and then now we're obsessed with that filmmaker Alex de la Iglesia. But that's like for me weird I guess horror.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I guess most people who know us expect us to always just say Hellraiser or Clive Barker. That's always a given. But, like one movie I haven't been able to really pull away from is this one. It's Starry Eyes.
Starry Eyes.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
It's oh God, the girl.
Oh, it's great.
The woman who plays in this movie, she's in Doctor Sleep. She's the Shelley Duvall character. I can't remember her name. Alexandra Esso. She's fantastic, and the movie is about.
She's such a great actor.
The movie is about this this young woman who's a waitress at like a Hooters in California, in Hollywood. And she's just, working her grind, trying to get auditions. And her roommates treat her like dog shit. And they make fun of her. And they give her empty promises. And they're trying to do their own guerrilla indie thing. She's actually trying to get auditions and just, do things the legit way. And she finally gets this amazing audition. And then it's like a rebirth sort of movie. And what she has to go through in order to achieve her dreams is phenomenal. But Starry Eyes, it's like a cult horror.
Yeah, it's funny because we have a lot of friends who identify as Satanists, and Starry Eyes is something that we all discuss often. Like they've shown it for like Satan movie nights because it's very much so, do as thou wilt sort of like situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just she knows what she wants and she goes for it. Yeah. And it's about her trying to make these decisions of do you keep these toxic people around or not? It's one of those, good for her movies, like Midsummer.
Yeah.
And
the score is phenomenal. It's very like Dario Argento with the real pretty isolated notes, but it also has the new retro wave horror going on. So the movie is its own gear shift, and I personally think it's a film if you like horror, you should watch Starry Eyes. If you're not digging it in the first, give it the 30-minute rule, man.
We have a 30-minute rule, which is try to watch a movie in the first 30 minutes, and if you're not digging it, then you're probably not going to like the rest, but you gotta give. And we've turned off some films. It just, like we said, maybe you're not the right audience for it.
Yeah.
Of course. I always try to give a film a few, you got to try to give it a little bit. And if you don't like it, I mean, it's just easy. You just turn it off, right? And go into something else. Talking about weird and horror films, have you guys heard of the Spanish film Framed from 2017? It hit the festival in 2017, 2019. And then it kind of disappeared. Framed is done by Mark Martinez Jordan. I'm sure I said his last name wrong, even though it's spelled Jordan. He's got a little thingy above the A. It's Spanish, made in Spain, English subtitles. Really good film. Really bloody, gory film. I loved it.
Oh yeah, we liked Shrew's Nest. I want to say that one was also Spain. Shrew's Nest. That one's on Shudder.
Yeah.
I think it's called Museñeras. And that one is pretty cool. I know another weird one that we liked. We liked We Are the Flesh. That was a Mexican film.
We Are the Flesh.
That one's weird and trippy. That one's on Shudder. And what was that? We had like a whole slew of we had run into like a bunch of really good Shudder films. We had like a week where every single Shudder film that we watched was like freaking amazing.
Knife and Heart.
Nice.
Knife and Heart
Bad
was
Boy,
really
Lover
good.
Boy.
Yeah, and Knife and Heart is a gay slasher giallo, and that one's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
I love giallo.
What's the other one? Was Dogs Don't Wear Pants. We really liked. And that one was about a dominatrix and a man who had just lost his wife, and so he's trying to figure out how to bring his life back together, but he's also visiting this dominatrix, and it's really, really well done. It's so gorgeous.
Like you kind of want to cry at the end. But,
I think I did cry at the end because it actually everything works out. As well as can work out.
Right.
I'll take it.
Oh no, that sounds awesome. I don't think I've seen Dogs Don't Wear Pants. I'm going to have to look for that one.
I don't remember. It's not American or anything, but I don't remember what country it was from. It's just.
I think Annette really did a number on us, though.
Annette did a number on us.
Annette, the movie with Adam Driver.
It's not a horror film. It's not a horror film.
It should be. That movie, man, that movie had
It's
us.
on Amazon Prime right now. It's a French musical. Sparks did all the music, and it stars Adam Driver and oh my gosh, I just blanked out on her name.
Yeah, it's good.
Nice. I just wrote that one down. I'll have to see if I love international horror. I love international horror. I watch a lot of different Indonesian, Turkish, Korean. I enjoy international horror. A lot of them have, again, their cultural, some of it mythology, some of it religious culture. That's what I love about international films. Plus, they don't have the restrictions that North American films have. There's a lot of restrictions that the films have now, ever since the MPAA. Tons of restrictions.
The MPA.
Yeah.
They're not America anymore.
Oh, yeah. I remember when we saw that and we noticed that it's not, they dropped the second day. It's not the Motion Picture Association of America. It's now the Motion Picture Association. That personally worries me in that, oh, wow, they have now control of,
the globe.
Everything. I don't think that that's good. As you brought up,
I don't think that's good either. Because I love my Asian horror. I love how creepy and gory and just the whole thing. I love their films. I don't want the MPA getting their hands on anything. Not at all. Ugh. Yeah, no, they ruin a lot of things.
Yeah.
And there was a film that I wanted to say, I wanted to talk about, and I can't even, it was there 1 minute and it's out the next. But Ike has a question. He wants to know, what are both of your fears? We all have fears, and I was just curious in what scares you both.
Kids with guns.
That is a scary thing.
I don't know. When I was a kid, going back to my Roman Catholic childhood, I did have the fear of God put in me when I was real tiny. I was afraid that at any given moment I'd go to hell. I was afraid of the nuns screaming my name, giving me another detention during religion class. But now that I'm older, the thing that frightens me the most is I don't know, home invasion kind of stuff. Even though we don't watch those kind of movies, the reality of it is pretty terrifying for me. Yeah. Especially when you live in the ghetto.
I think home invasion films are for me. I like home invasion films because they actually scare me. I don't get scared much anymore with a lot of horror films, but the home invasion films, Last House on the Left, Strangers, things like that, that really scares me because it can happen. Nobody is safe if you think about it. It doesn't matter if you're if you're in a gated community or in the ghetto of ghettos or wherever you are, this shit can get you.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's just like, yeah, I think that's I mean, we don't even really watch those kind of movies because, like, we watched Strangers Pray at night, and we were just like, yeah, that wasn't as good as the first.
Right.
It's not in the movie form sense that it messes with me, because I think I can pretty much watch anything. But not just like the reality of things like that. That gets me. We don't watch true crime. We watch that. What's that? The Pretty Boy Bundy movie.
Yeah, that Zac Efron Bundy movie.
That was good.
Yes.
It was good, but I was just like, I don't like true crime stuff. That freaks me out.
It freaked us out. But it was
because it's reality. You
It
know?
is reality.
It's very much so. Oh, dreams, ha 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 ha. These things that are more like ephemeral, because they're not real.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, Jason and Michael, those things aren't real and set in reality. I mean, life itself is a friggin' horror. The ups and downs that you go into from a child growing up. I mean, that's a horror reel in itself. I love true crime, and because it disturbs me. I like disturbing and shocking genre of horror. And I agree. The one with Zac Efron, he did a really good job. He did a really good job in that film.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, definitely. How slick Bundy was, that's scary. As a woman, and just watching the home invasions or serial killer or true crime, we are the biggest prey. And growing up, and as a growing up female, your mother, my family is always be aware of your surroundings. Do not do this. Do not do this. Do not do. And you're drilled that into your head as a little girl growing up. I don't know how it is for boys if you're drilled like that, because obviously I'm not a boy. But as a young girl, and I even drilled it into my children's heads, because I have 2 spawns. And when she was old enough to go clubbing, my thing is cover your drink. Don't accept drinks from anybody. Don't do this. Don't go outside. Blah blah blah. You drill those fears into your children, unfortunately. So watching true crime and serial killer films, home invasions, that shit is really scary.
Yeah,
it definitely gets you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, would we ever make a true crime movie? Or, like, I don't know, if the paycheck was there, I guess. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we would, but also, like, the kind of way that I am is, I would want to make sure that the victims were respected.
Yeah.
Right.
Not to shine a positive light on the people that are responsible for the crimes itself. Like Joe had mentioned that project that we aren't a part of anymore, and his story was based in a true crime situation here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I left the project early on specifically because I didn't feel that the female characters, literally any of the female characters, were being treated with respect, and I got tired of arguing with people.
Yeah. He was a rough producer to work for. We all ended up bouncing out.
Yeah, I'm really glad we ended up just like parting ways, because it was just, our values and his values did not line up at all.
But also, if we had continued on with his movie, not only would Vicemares had suffered, the movie that we would have ended up making for him would have suffered.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have liked it, I don't think, either.
Yeah, so
I don't think anyone would have been happy. I wouldn't have been happy.
I would have much rather, crank out one really good movie instead of 2 half-assed movies,
right. I agree. And when you're making true crime or serial killer films, you do have to be respectful of the families and of the victims as well, because this has actually happened to them. This is not something that was made up in a storybook. This was something real life. So I would you have to be respectful. If you're not going to be respectful, then don't make the film.
And also,
yeah, well, I mean, like, because for me, part of it was that it's a guy who killed prostitutes, and like, he just wasn't being respectful of the fact that, they're sex workers and they're human. Like, these are people with lives, and they have families, they have friends, and and I was like, I don't want to be involved with something where you're not showing respect to women, especially right now where there's just like so much going on as far as
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get you. And sex workers, it's a real thing. It's one of the oldest professions in history. And I know a lot of people don't. I know nowadays we're starting to be more respectful to that career choice, but it's still a taboo. Here in Canada, it's legal. You can run your escort service, prostitution. It's all legal here. You get your licenses and stuff like that. I guess it's also dependent on the country and where you come from. But I know in the United States, it's very frowned upon. It is very frowned upon.
Right, exactly. And since we live in
by Republicans.
Since we live in a Republican state, like we live we live in part of the Bible Belt. If you're going to be, you're already dealing with people that aren't going to be respectful of these people's life choices, or it was very, very touchy subject. There were a bunch of other things involved too, where I was just like, I'm done trying to explain to you that women are people.
Yeah.
What it boiled down to is I was just like, okay, women are people. They are humans. They're not robots.
Yep.
So I'm glad that we left the project.
Oh, that's good. A movie that comes to mind when you were talking about respect of victims is, have you ever seen 2019 release Random Acts of Violence?
We turned it off.
Which one was it?
It was the
comic book.
Tropic Thunder. Jay Baruchel.
Oh, that guy totally dogged on horror films after that movie came out, and he was like, horror fans are blah 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 blah.
Oh well, what a son of a bitch.
Yeah, it was and I feel really bad because I wanted to like it. But we turned it off. I would consider going back to it because it looked really fun. It looked interesting. But our problem was that we had seen, and he walked back his statement, but I think his original statement said something along the lines of, horror fans are just going to like whatever because, they don't
appreciate substance.
Basically, the implication. And he did walk it back, and he's known for being, socially awkward. So I'm sure whatever he said, he didn't mean.
Yeah.
But when you hear that and then you try to watch the movie, your view is going to be askew.
Yeah, I remember.
So you're not going to be able to watch it through.
Yes.
You're able to watch it correctly.
Yes, and this is why I hate when celebrities get into politics. I don't want to hear your politics because you're going to ruin my fucking movies. You know what I mean? But with Random Acts of Violence, where he was exploiting the kills, his girlfriend was trying to be like, look, you need to be respectful of these women. And her book that she was creating was shining light on the victims, where he was taking his comic book and creating the serial killer. They were following the I-90 killer.
Right.
I thought it was I liked it. It was well made. I don't know too much about the director himself, but I was bringing that up to show the respect for the victims from the female, his girlfriend side of things, and then what he was doing from the comic book side of things, and how he was creating his comic book after the serial killer, and then the serial killer was recreating those scenes from his comic book in real life.
Yeah, we turned it off so early. We turned it off, I think, 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in. So we broke our own 30-minute rule.
Right.
That's our fault. But I'm remembering now about the comic book, and then that the girlfriend was writing her true crime book about it. Yeah, that they had opposing ideas. And I am more intrigued to watch it now, since you say that they build specifically on that. That sounds really interesting. Yeah,
you can see her side of things, and they fight in the film with that. She was like, she actually had an interview with one of the victims' family, and they butt heads, and you can see her pushing for being respectful towards the victims. That's what I pulled from that film, but I didn't know any of the background from the director and stuff. Yeah. We have another question from Ake. What horror places have you been, such as towns or haunted motels? Is there a place you would both want to travel to?
Well, there's a bunch of places in Texas. We went down to the gas station down in Bastrop, which is it's now a toy shop and barbecue shop. and that's the gas station from
It's the original gas station from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We went to the meat packing. We visited the house, but you can't like get anywhere close to it. You have to they have signs everywhere because it's on a very large piece of land.
Well, that's the house from the remake.
From the remake.
The house from the original Texas Chainsaw got moved a bit northwest, but still in Texas.
Right.
And now Airbnb.
It's an Airbnb now, and we haven't been to that house, but we went to the meat packing place. That was from the remake. That was pretty cool. That was creepy.
I bet.
And then
it's pretty much abandoned at this point.
There's a place in Mineral Wells called the Baker Hotel, and that's it's supposedly one of the most haunted places in Texas. I stole a door from there. Yeah, when I was in high school, my friends and I went up there, drove to Mineral Wells from Irving, which is like a 2.5-hour drive. It was like midnight. We snuck in. We explored the place. We would do this. It was like our weekend. It became our weekend thing after a while. And we were really into Joy Division at the time. So we went up to like the 8th floor or whatever. And, the elevators don't work. And they have these really narrow fire escape, stairwells on the corners of the hotel, and we stole a door off the hinges, and it took us about 4 hours to get it out of that hotel, going down the dark stairwell like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
It died, and then we got it out of this building and somehow out the courtyard and into the truck, and then we hightailed it out of there. We put it in our studio, and it was the coolest door. And we moved out of that studio in Irving, and I don't know. The thing just disappeared one day. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it, but yeah.
Dang.
I stole a door from a haunted hotel. It was awesome.
Oh, well, thankfully.
That hotel is currently being remodeled. Like they're intending to reopen it and stuff as like a haunted location.
Yeah, it was like one of the most
destination.
It was one of the most bougie hotels back in its heyday.
Right.
Like the style of it, it was on par with the Titanic, like how rich people would, like the rich people that would go there and stuff, like celebrities, politicians. There's a lot of suicides and murders in that hotel.
Yeah, like the Cecil.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think the Cecil's actually got it crushes the Baker, right?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And the Cecil Hotel has some. I'd like to go visit that. It has some real history and stories.
Yeah.
A few of the documentaries have been done on that one.
Where is that one located? That's up north, right?
I think that's in LA.
In LA? Okay.
Hold on, let's see. I believe so. Cecil Hotel. I'll tell you exactly where it is. I know the documentary. Where is this? Los Angeles. It's in Los Angeles. And it is a budget hotel, but a lot of people and serial killers stayed there. The Black Dahlia, she was there. Richard Ramirez. There's been a lot of history in that one, and same thing goes with I don't know if you've seen that recent documentary on the Cecil Hotel, but of a Canadian girl who mysteriously died there. She was Elisa Lam.
Lisa Lam.
Yep, Elisa Lam. She's from Vancouver. She was staying there. They found her body in the water tank. And that was a crazy friggin' story. It's on Netflix. I believe it's still on Netflix.
Yeah, I think so. We just haven't watched it still.
It's a true crime. It's a true crime, but it's very interesting on the Cecil Hotel because the Cecil Hotel has a crap ton of history, supposedly hauntings on it as well. Yeah, crazy. I'd like to visit the Conjuring house.
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I recently sat down with Andrea Perron from the Perron family, and we spoke about the Conjuring house, her experiences growing up there, and looked into the background of that house. It's been around in the United States before the United States was really the United States. So it's got a lot of history, it's seen.
Wow.
There's probably why it's so haunted, though.
And it could be, definitely could be. Okay, we have a Hard Jars wanted to know. I guess this goes back to what we were talking about, true crime and the serial killer. What do you guys think of catching killers with family members doing DNA tests?
I don't know. That's
wrong or a good thing? I'm thinking it's a good thing.
But also, I mean, like, I don't know, man. That is very
that's a peculiar question.
Ethically,
yeah. Well, you violate certain things.
And the ends justify the means, but the question is that a gross, overstep?
Yeah.
Personal information, because that's something that could easily be abused. I mean, of course,
yes.
It's good, right, in that specific.
Definitely yep.
I don't know. That is interesting.
Huh. I've never heard anything put that way. That is very, I don't know.
There was actually a story on that. Oh, I can't remember the story, but there was an unsolved murder that happened. I can't remember where. And the only reason why I remember is very vaguely is that they ended up finding the killer through a DNA test that the family member actually put into like Ancestry or something like that, and somewhere along the line it got a ding with the FBI. I don't know. I don't remember the whole story. But that's where the family members actually did a DNA test. They were just finding out their DNA, like their family history. They weren't doing it to find a murder. And somehow it dinged somewhere with an unsolved murder. And I can't remember what case that was. It was a long time ago.
That is so interesting. No, I feel that's...
The Golden State Killer.
Oh, wow.
The family... Yeah, I remember watching a documentary and the family... it was just random. They were doing a DNA test to find out the heritage and history, and boom, it triggered something in the Golden State Killer. There we go. The community thought the horde knew. I couldn't remember it.
Huh.
No, I'd never heard of this before. Like we said, we don't.
You guys don't do true crime. Yeah.
I seriously spend all of my time in fantasy world, those randos that like to spin around in circles and just kind of yeah, that's me.
Oh no, I feel you. I love fantasy. Life is too real.
Yeah, that seems. Honestly, I'm gonna go with that. Seems like not okay. That's like Philip K. Dick. Futuristic. That's not,
like a Minority Report kind of thing.
Minority Report.
Yeah. I don't think I feel comfortable with that. Which is probably not nice to say, but
I'm on a half and half basis. If it's something that accidentally happened, sure. But if it's the government and the FBI actually going through your DNA test and comparing them, that's a violation in my eyes. That is an extreme violation. If it was an accident, like it dinged something, okay, whatever. But if they're purposely going in and taking DNA testing from your family and trying to match it to DNA that they have on file, I think that is an invasion of privacy as well.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's a good cause, I still think, because what's stopping them from going further?
Right.
Right? They take away one little thing.
It's cool that they found, that serial killer. But I don't think that should be a thing. Yeah, no,
I agree with that. The FBI are watching Ancestry DNA companies. Well, they do. And that's how they found the Golden State Killer. Obviously, they were doing something, right?
Right.
That caused that ding.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, that seems like that could be a very slippery slope.
I agree with you. Definitely agree with you on that one.
We have discussions a lot about, censorship, where it's for example, I'm in this Facebook group that's specifically for women filmmakers, and when Titane won the Palme d'Or earlier this year, there was a woman who came on there and she was complaining about how, the movie was so violent and, she didn't like how sexual it was and blah, 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 blah. She just she wasn't digging it, right? Totally fine, but she was complaining about censorship type of things, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that because you're censoring art. And I hadn't even watched the movie yet. We finally watched it this past weekend, and seriously, it was not as horrible as that lady made it sound out to be. But also, we're horror fans.
Right.
The way we see things are different. But it's slippery slopes. It's best to, I think, steer clear of that type of stuff.
I was disappointed there wasn't more machine sex.
I haven't watched that film yet.
Oh, Titan?
Yeah. Okay, so shush.
What's the name of the film?
Titan.
Can you spell that?
Titane.
A-N-E?
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. If anybody is wanting to see it in chat, there you go. Look for it. I'm going to look for it myself. A lot of people that they feel things are too violent that it should be taken off and censored. I don't believe in censorship. I don't think anything should be censored. I don't really care what it is. Well, certain things, but when it comes to art, why are you censoring? I don't even think humans should be censored to a certain extent. That's why I believe in physical media. Anything that's going to the cloud can accidentally be deleted forever. There are many, many films like Cannibal Holocaust and Ferox that people would love to see disappear, but it shouldn't, because it's an art form. It is art. It's not something that is actually they're doing currently, but people would like to see that disappear. And then that's why I think physical media is so important. And I'm talking about buying DVDs, buying records, buying albums, not just because you're of whatever reason. It's just censorship. If everything goes to the cloud and people don't like it, there it goes, bye-bye, and it's lost.
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's something that people don't realize, is that even if you buy something on, Amazon or whatever, and it's there in your queue of, for example, we bought Grandma's Boy. Crazy thing is because the video game that they play in Grandma's Boy, Demonic, it was a Clive Barker game that got. So they took the game and then put it inside the movie, right? Because it was about games anyway. It makes sense. But technically, if Amazon felt like pulling that title, even though we bought it, it doesn't belong to us. Amazon is still allowed to pull the title.
Yep.
So it sucks because we don't have that in physical form. We're still looking for it in physical form. But most of our stuff that we love, we have, in physical form. I mean, we've got however many copies of Candyman. We've got it on Blu-ray, DVD, VHS. We've got 2 VHSs. Because it's very important to keep what you love in physical format.
I was at a horror VHS shop the other day, and I saw a VHS copy of Lord of Illusions that I already owned, but I saw this really awful looking lady that was being really loud and obnoxious, saying all the wrong things about movies, and she was carrying around the Jeepers Creepers trilogy. And I'm like, I'm going to buy this before you give it a bad home.
Yeah.
I'm a weirdo.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I don't know if you guys have heard of Cherokee Creek. Todd Jenkins and Billy Blair.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No, we actually interviewed Todd. When it was 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't. It was at Texas Frightmare Weekend.
It was Texas Frightmare Weekend.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, this was the first mention of Texas Frightmare Weekend.
Oh, Texas Frightmare! Let's take a drink finally.
We did it.
I love that movie, and Amazon took it off of their list because people complained about it. I interviewed Todd not that long ago, about 2019, I think, on Coffee Chat of Horrors, him and Billy Blair, and we talk about, I love Cherokee Creek. I loved Cherokee Creek. I love guy humor. As a woman, it doesn't offend me. I laugh at it, but there was a lot of people that complained in the reviews, and and Amazon removed it.
Amazon has famously, though, especially recently, been at war, with their independent filmmakers.
Yep.
And it sucks because it's not fair, and it goes back to that censorship.
Yeah.
Where it's ridiculous. But I mean, now that I'm talking, I'm realizing it's in Amazon's best interest to get rid of as much independent film as possible, and this is including not just horror but all the genres. It's in their best interest, so that way they can make more room for what they produce for their streaming content, so they can get more people hooked on their streaming content, and then take over. Because I mean, it's the battle of the streamers right now.
Oh yes, it is.
do with the rise of Disney Plus, I mean, everybody's at war right now, and
Yep.
Netflix is one of those companies that's too big to fail. And but I did hear that there is that Netflix is bringing back their indie short film sections of their platform.
Nice.
I've heard, but
Yeah.
I do want to see it.
Yeah, no, I like that.
But luckily, there's a lot of streaming platforms like Alter. For example, with an Alter, and they pick up shorts. And our friend Natasha, she's got a short on there, Road Trash.
Oh yeah, that one's narrated by Heather
Langenkamp.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
She's an independent filmmaker here in town too.
Yeah.
So just finding alternate places, I think, is where things are going right now. But that's why with so many of our shorts, since they were actually a lot of our shorts were 48-hour film races. That's why we just ended up throwing them at Troma Now, because I was like, well, we still want them to have a home.
And they're goofy. They're like
silly. They're fun. They're really grindhouse. They're really schlocky.
Like what you saw Vicemares, the Vicemares trailer. That's like sophisticated compared to, what we used to make. And I use the term sophisticated loosely, as in we're shooting on nicer equipment, and
Right.
we have people who can actually, memorize lines and not look at the camera.
Yeah.
But the short films, though, those are schlocky fun, and they, I think they were all made on, shoestring budgets literally in the course of 48 hours from writing to releasing it.
Sorry, my spawn is coming in to show me her outfit of the day. It looks good.
Yeah, so ours just did as well.
Yeah, she rose from the grave. I'm surprised she's up this friggin' early, but she's going to the mall with her friends, so.
Right on.
And I really do wish Shudder would pick up some more indie filmmakers. I really do. I think Shudder, but it's also owned by AMC, which is another big company.
I think it's interesting how much they're showing that connection now, because I kind of feel like they didn't really focus on it, previously in previous years, and now I feel like this year they're really hitting it hard. But I mean, we're not part of their marketing department, and we have no idea what's going on over there with them.
Yeah, because I remember when Shudder came out, it was the AMC wasn't attached to it, because I remember seeing it and I was like, I need this in Canada. And so then it finally came, because Shudder happened in the United States and then slowly came to Canada. It didn't come out at the same time. And I caught wind of it, and I'm like, okay, we need this here. The next thing you know, it's here. Next thing you know, it's now AMC's attached. I think AMC was afraid to attach their name to it in case if it bombed. I think that maybe, I don't really know. But now all you see is AMC Shudder.
A lot of people are afraid to attach themselves to anything horror related, including true crime.
It's always been that way.
Horror and true crime. People are afraid to do that unless it's Halloween season, and that's very annoying because I mean, you, us, people we know here in town. I'm sure you have friends too. It's Halloween year round. It's no freaking excuse, man.
Yeah. Well,
I agree.
So this is my first year being a member of the Dallas Producers Association, which is just a group of producers from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Because, obviously, like we had mentioned about RoboCop was shot here. Phantom of the Paradise was shot here. We actually just went to the 100th anniversary of the Majestic Theater, which is where they shot Phantom of the Paradise. That is the Paradise, the Majestic Theater. We have so much film here in Texas, like Pure Country was shot over in Fort Worth at Billy Bob's.
Urban Cowboy.
Urban Cowboy. I'm sorry.
With John Travolta. Paris, Texas.
Yeah. I mean, and Whip It even. We mentioned that. That was shot in Austin. And I mean, that's just like just a few things.
Tobe Hooper, David Gordon Green, they're from Texas. So, I mean, shit. We're rich.
But like, even though horror is such a big deal in Texas likes to pretend it isn't, and then only acknowledges it when it's October. But back to the DPA, I was very honored, and I thought it was super awesome that they asked us to put some people together as far as horror is related. And it was funny because like we had the panel was horror, but also true crime. So the true crime people were, you know, like dressed like, I don't know, average, normal, you know.
Yep, I get you.
They
But
look professional.
They look professional. And then on the other side was our people, and all of us dressed like punk, generally, you know, horror. And so then, like, our side. And there was someone who literally raised his hand. He says, "Do I have to dress like you guys in order to be part of the horror community?" It was really funny.
Oh, yeah, because the horror community.
Dress like this.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement.
Well, horror has always been a taboo in Hollywood, right? There were people from the start of it. It's always been a taboo, getting involved with it or attaching a name to it. That's why a lot of the big companies were afraid to even take a chance on horror. New Line Cinema, the house that Freddie built right there. They weren't afraid to get on with it, but some of the other bigger services were. They're like, what's so wrong with horror? Okay, I understand that there's a group of people out there that think if you enjoy horror, you're a bad person. And that brings my question, because I had a question for you guys, and this happens to me quite often as a creator here on Twitch and on YouTube. I get where people will tell me that I'm going to hell, or I'm a horrible person for enjoying horror and the violence or the movies that I enjoy. I like the shocking and disturbing. I pride myself on being a gore whore because I love blood, guts, and ass on the screen. But I get all the time is, you know, what are your guys' thoughts on people saying that if you enjoy horror, that you're going to hell, or that you are a horrible person for liking horror?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, my mom, you know, when I was a little kid and, you know, we got to rent Scream. It was so hypocritical growing up. And then when I bought a copy of Scream with my own allowance, you know, I got destroyed because they were like, you know, it's one thing to watch it from time to time, but you want to live it.
Right.
And I was a little kid, you know, when it hit the shelves. And I thought that was pretty bullshit. You know, my parents had messed up movies around the house. Yeah. You know, but my extended family that were super duper religious, they didn't give me hell about scary movies. My grandmother was one of the coolest ladies ever, you know, and she introduced me to like Beetlejuice and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and which, you know, she introduced me to Tim Burton films, all sorts of cool stuff. But no, man, I think people that say that sort of thing, you know, they're very repressed.
Yeah.
They need to get out of their freaking eggshell and be like, yo, have a good time and watch someone get their head cut off.
Exactly.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think I think those kind of people, you know, it's one of those whatever situations. If, you know, you're going to judge me, then clearly we're not in the same circle. You know,
we're pretty lucky that the horror community and the alternative community in the Metroplex is huge, and the horror community in Texas is huge. Like, I mean, we're friends with filmmakers down in Houston, and we're friends with filmmakers up in El Paso, and that's like completely opposite ends.
That's four different states apart.
Yeah, of Texas. And then, like, you know, we have friends that are up in Oklahoma and Kansas that also do horror and stuff like that. So all of us just tend to like hang out and
but also,
work
you know,
together. We're pretty lucky.
Fortunately for us, I mean, I think we're pretty chameleon. I mean, like, you know, we can talk to people about Ridley Scott to Wes Anderson. We can go and talk Universal Monsters and Der Golem and old German French films. Old German and French films. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's just like you know, I don't know. It's not just horror movies that we like. We like, you know, we like to play in the sandbox, and we don't ever want to really get out, but we really do enjoy all sorts of film. And I mean, I think one of the greatest movies we ever took River to was, in my opinion, still Isle of Dogs, and that's a Wes Anderson film about dogs on Trash Island trying to find their way home, and it's a stop motion animation movie like the old 1950s, you know, Frosty the Snowman and stuff like that. And you know, just the craft of putting the movie together, no matter what kind of picture it is just phenomenal. It's outstanding. The amount of effort that someone has to go through, the organization alone, the amount of stress the production coordinator has to go through just to make sure that the producer doesn't blame them for everything and they lose their job. So they blame it on a PA and fire their ass. But, you know, the amount of work that goes into making anything is insane. From your little crappy DSLR to Guardians of the Galaxy. It's all over the place. And there's a level of appreciation that I think that we could find in most movies. And that's what Catalina was saying earlier. You know, if we're not enjoying a picture, the first thing we ask ourselves now that we're older, is, are we the audience? Because we can recognize a good, well-made film and not appreciate the story or how it's being delivered to us simply based on what's the demographic. And these are things that a lot of people need to look at now. You know, was Halloween Kills made for me? Probably not. Was it made for a younger Halloween audience, like that's new to the franchise? Probably so, because sooner or later, I'm going to be dead and I won't be able to give the Halloween franchise any money. So why do they want to market to me? That's just my thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, Halloween Kills is not going to be for everybody. I mean, there's the diehard fans that will like it and then won't like it, right?
Right.
I'm in the middle.
I'm guilty of it too, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be real. If an X-Men movie comes out, I'm going to watch it. Am I going to like it? I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be, you know? But if it's a Clive Barker movie, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's I think everyone's like that to their own degree. It's whether they're willing to admit it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very true. Speaking about films made on just like tiny DSLR, there is a fan-made film by a family, a Halloween fan-made film. They did it all on their iPhone. All on an iPhone. And this is going back a few years. Yeah. It was really, really well made. I mean, you can tell that it was made on something, you know, not as sophisticated as one of the bigger cameras, but they did a really good job of creating that and filming it with just the friggin' iPhone.
Well, because it's cool when you have constraints like that, because then they have to get really, really creative in other, you know, with the editing or with like the music or the angles or whatever. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's where like studying trauma films really comes into play and helps, because when you have those kind of restrictions, like just all we have is a cell phone. Well, you're lucky if you have anything else to record audio. Honestly, you're lucky. You might have to use the internet. You know, what you got is what you got, and you do have to be creative. I mean, there was a time where we were just bored as shit. You know, the kids were with the grandparents, and we were like, well, what are we gonna do? We don't feel like going anywhere, so we decided to make a short film in our home, and we just started, you know, let's mess around with some trauma gags, simply because we were bored. We made a whole day out of it, and you know, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, we did the trauma gags, and then we specifically wanted to do the crash zooms.
We wanted to practice crash zooms.
Practice crash zooms, and that's what we did. We went, okay, we're going to practice these trauma gags and then the crash zooms.
And we just spent a day with Adrian making a piece of crap short film, and
I think that doll is still buried in our backyard.
I'm not digging that up.
Oh, that's funny. That's fun though. That's great. I think a lot of people should do that. Is you know, you're bored, you like films, just why not? What else
are you
grab
doing?
your cell phone and make something. Why not? Like what's so taboo about it? I think that should be great. We have two questions from Harjar. Harjar, is it hard to be creative in today's cancel culture? Does it stop you from doing things that you want to do?
No.
Well,
I don't think so at all. I mean, I'm not really concerned with like cancel culture.
The thing about cancel culture is that when you're a creative, you have to cancel culture.
I agree.
Because you don't know what's going to cancel you.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, it's so funny because we were actually just discussing that. Is that one of our friends wanted to do something where the main characters are they're a gay couple, and I said, me personally, I'm like, okay, well, but we identify as heterosexual, so I think that we should add someone on to, you know, that if he wants to continue with that he should talk to someone who is, you know, part of like an LGBTQ organization.
And this is just how you
And that's just me personally.
Well, how do you get a point of view from being gay if you're not gay?
Gay,
right? How do you get a point of view of being a woman and making a movie about a woman if you're not a woman? You should have someone consulting on there. Granted, you're not going to find every actor who may be gay perfect for your part, but that's the whole point of acting, you have someone consulting on them. I think that's where people nowadays can't separate fiction from acting from reality.
It goes back to Charlton Heston playing an Egyptian,
Yeah.
Emma Stone playing a Hawaiian, and
yeah, but stuff like that is it's stuff that can be fixed.
it can be fixed.
With
But
ScarJo, she keeps getting in trouble, and there's tons of movies that I like that have Scarlett Johansson in it. But at the same time, yes, it is problematic if she's playing someone who should be Asian, because I am someone who is a minority, and I for example, in high school, we were going to do West Side Story, and it turned into such a shit show where my teacher, my drama teacher realized that she was going to have to cast it incorrectly, so to speak. So they just ended up completely canceling the whole thing.
So,
but that was a long time ago. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah. But as far as being concerned about cancel culture,
yeah, I don't think you can focus on it. Because,
you can't focus on it until you get there.
Right, and actually right now, I was noticing that there's a lot of people who are trying to attack Terry Gilliam because it goes back to the censorship, the censorship stuff. And, I still like Terry Gilliam. And there were some people that were trying to cancel John Cleese.
Yeah. This goes with people not understanding satire.
I agree.
And I think if you feed, you don't want to feed the problem, but you do want to accommodate whilst educating. And who am I to educate? I'm in my own head here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Everyone's gonna have their own perspective on whatever, but
exactly.
you can't stop someone who's gonna have their own opinions and trash talk. You can try to help them understand, but they're either going to understand if they want to or they're not.
Exactly.
And it sucks because not everyone's going to like our movies.
Well, and that's their prerogative. That's their freedom, right? And we should have our freedoms to express our opinions without being canceled. In certain context, you know what I mean. But we should be able to enjoy a movie or dislike a movie and not be berated for disliking or liking a film. And I agree with that whole cancel culture thing. You can't think about it until it actually happens. And everybody has an opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has them. Doesn't mean your opinion is more important than somebody else's opinion. And just because you didn't like it or you didn't like the actor doesn't mean that it should not be watched. Right? It's your opinion again.
Right.
It's not.
I don't want to be that asshole that says most opinions are wrong, but when you start making movies, you realize how uninformed some of these opinions are. But
you can't focus. Yeah, basically, the gist is you can't focus on what if this and what if that. Just I guess do your best.
Yeah. You just got to do it, right? And then you just hope for the best. Parjaz has a second question with the whole tragedy with Alec Baldwin. That was very, very sad. Does this make you think more of safety when you're creating?
Okay, I'm going to take this one because he's going to rant. First of all, the focus should not be on Alec Baldwin.
Agreed.
At all. Her name's Halia Hutchins, and she was a human. And it is a gross oversight because... well, first of all, the way we're looking at it as people who have a crew.
Yep.
I can't imagine our director of photography getting hurt. We love that asshole, even though I literally just called him an asshole.
He's one of our best friends.
Seriously, I love that guy. And even just everybody on our set, even our makeup artist, everybody is really important. But the thing is that it was a low budget in the eyes of Hollywood. It was a low budget film, $1 million. But the crew had been complaining. They had been sending in letters. They've been pretty loud about it, about how it was very unsafe, and they mean unsafe in all senses of the word, not just gun safety related things.
And
we're COVID, everything was unsafe. And
don't be fooled. This incident, they had already had 2 misfires before this Helena had been killed. There was already 2. There was already 2 misfires on set before this young woman was killed.
Right.
Yeah, it was, but basically the whole production, it sounds like, has been cutting corners, and the first people that get shit on are going to be the crew. It's because they think that the crew is replaceable, and and then it came to light that that the entire camera crew had walked
the day before.
Yeah.
Wow.
So back to trauma. Safety first.
Yep.
Safety to humans. That is literally the first rule of trauma. Is safety to humans. And James Gunn, he also released a statement because he trauma alumni.
Yep.
Lloyd drills that so much into your heads, like seriously,
Safety to humans.
because y'all did in 2020, y'all worked with Lloyd in January of 2020, they worked with Lloyd, and y'all had to be careful because, like, for example, they had a location that was really dangerous and there were no steps and it had just rained and they wanted Lloyd to go through these steps, and Lloyd's almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
There's dogs everywhere. And...
you have to put the safety above everyone else. And the good thing about independent films is that you can.
Yes.
But Alec Baldwin, as a producer, helped create this situation because he's someone who is saying yes or no on, hey, can crew get a hotel that's close by? They were stationed an hour away and they're working, 13, 14-hour days, and then they have to drive an hour out and an hour back. They only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
That doesn't account for if they need to wind down, being their body, they can barely stand, Yeah,
and it's hard, literally Jorg has fallen asleep in his get-up,
in his steady
cam. We have pictures of our DP in a steady cam. It's fucking huge.
On that shoot with Lloyd, we were doing, it was 1 a.m. and we had, that director had us. I was the first AD on this movie and producer, and my AD Corey, who wrote Vicemares, he we were spotting Jorg in the middle of the night. He had his giant steady rig on, so it's like a vest.
Like a vest backpack thing.
With this arm that extends out, this metal arm, and then this giant rod, and the camera sits. And the camera alone is 80 pounds, right? So this thing is huge, and you can imagine it's not comfortable to wear. It's 1 a.m, and we've been shooting for 18 hours, and this is an independent film. When we're working under our own guise of, we love movies, so screw union rules. But no, when we were between takes, and Corey and I were holding on to him, and he fell backwards. He fell asleep standing up with his rig on, and he fell backwards, and Corey and I had to catch him. And then I was like, we're done. Screw it. And we took the next day off, and I got in a big fight with that director. I got in a fight with that director every day. Now, if I hadn't have gotten in a fight with that director every day, lots of bad things would have happened.
They Pat Kaufman, Lloyd's wife, she was the New York Film Commissioner for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Tiny lady, she's 5'1", 5 feet tall. She weighs 90 pounds.
She's a little lady.
She's just the sweetest lady ever. And they wanted to shoot her with a blood cannon. That would have knocked her over.
Oh my God! Yeah.
But
the fire guy. The fire guy.
Oh God, the fucking fire. Okay. Anyway, the point is that it's up to crew. It is also up to crew to say, hey, this isn't safe, and watch out for each other.
Yep.
And the set of Rust, it sounds like the crew did the right thing of saying, hey, it's not safe, and the producers don't care.
Alec Baldwin did not care
because it's because they think that these people are replaceable.
I agree with you. It's a horrific thing.
Yeah, no, we could ramble for.
It's
been
sure.
It's been a very much so big discussion in our immediate group of friends and stuff because it's terrifying.
It doesn't get spoken about a lot, but more times than not, on a lot of these sets that have names like Alec Baldwin or I don't know if I want to say the other ones, but it is known for the crew to walk off set because of safety. And honestly, this has really started happening since the dawn of COVID. Yeah. Because of COVID starting, lots of people have been walking off sets, and due to unsafe
work environment. Yeah. Chris, I had Chris Creature from Lost Signal Society on my show. She's another independent. She was telling us the last time she was on about the crazy work hours, 18, 20 hours, and getting paid nothing and being treated like you're replaceable. There is a strike, or there is basically a huge thing going on within the filming industry where people like your cameramen and crew and cast are actually fighting right now for equality, better hours, better pay. Instead of working 18, 20 hours, they want to work that 13 or 16.
Right. So that's IATSE, and those are unions. Those are people that actually like work with the union, so they do have, you know, set rules.
Yes.
As of right now, the strike has been diverted.
Of course.
But there's chatter because there's general chatter that, you know, the agreement that they reached was not ideal. It still isn't very good for the workers. But when you're working non-union, it's really just like,
yeah,
you know, whatever goes, and whatever happens. And that's where, yeah, you have to be careful with like making sure that, you know, there's a lot of communication between everybody. And we're lucky, we're like, our crew is pretty small and everyone's really forward with each other. Like one of our things that we do is that on set when we're working, we're like, fuck your feelings.
Yeah.
Because we like just want to get through it. And, you know, and of course, if there's something that legitimately is like, oh, you know, oh, someone's hungry, you know, and they need to eat, or, oh, someo's really, really tired. Like with York, he fell asleep, you know.
Yeah.
I like the picture of York where he's asleep with the Steadicam on, but in his
I was like,
in his truck.
That was, we wrapped. That was when we like wrapped at Tarrant County at Buddha's, and yeah, he was just gone, dude. Vicemares. We shot for 2 weeks straight on that movie. 2 weeks straight, you know, and whew, that was something else.
Yeah. But the 18, 20-hour days, I mean, I personally wouldn't suggest doing something like that because, I mean, at some point, your brain needs to sleep.
Yeah.
Your body and brain are going to give out on you.
Right, right. And it does become dangerous, especially if you're working with props that, you know, are like fake knives and stuff, especially with horror.
Honestly, the people that like working 18 to 20-hour days, those ridiculous hours, the only people that like doing that are really the directors.
Yeah.
The directors of the picture, they can go for hours because they're having a great time.
Yeah.
That's me. Now my casts, my grips, the rest of the crew, they're probably starting to drag ass, but I'm so excited.
Right.
And that's on every set, you know, they get really excited and they just don't want to stop.
But back to, that's why we have that, you know, fuck your feelings thing.
Exactly,
and that's why
yeah.
we've made it an environment so if someone has something to say, they're not going to be criticized. You know, we're going to have to stop and listen because I think it's important to take you know, these viewpoints into account. But I mean, we're lucky in that we're a group of friends at this point, you know, like we're pretty close friends too.
Mm-hmm.
So
we tend to keep the same
like crew
every go around. As far as narratives, music videos, commercials, we tend to keep the same crew.
That's good. I don't even know how a actual bullet or gun that was not a prop got onto the set.
Well,
apparently they weren't following literally any guidelines, like you're supposed to have, you know, a wrangler specifically trained in that.
In firearms and
the thing.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be under lock and key. Apparently all the guns were just like out, like on a table, like anyone could touch them. Like it's.
And when it was, the story is right now, when it was handed to Baldwin and they're saying from the AD, that it was not cleared, and so, you know, okay, so that now places blame on the AD. Well, the AD is going to place blame on the armor.
Yeah, and then it just keeps going down because nobody wants to be responsible. But at the same time, you know, I saw people arguing about just general gun safety rules, about how you need to always treat a gun as if it's loaded. And I think that is a fair rule to continue having, even if you are on a movie set.
Oh, of course.
You know?
A gun is a tool, and it could be a deadly tool if you don't know about gun safety, and it should always be treated that way. It's not, it's a very tragic event.
we just did a short. So we don't usually use guns. Like, we don't even like have guns in the house or anything. Even though we're like, oh, Texas, we're very like not Texas. We're Texas, but not Texas. So we've never used any sort of like prop guns. I think once. But recently we did do the crime thriller where we did have to use guns.
We had a gun in
and
Vicemares.
you guys used a airsoft gun.
We had airsoft guns, and they weren't loaded. There was nothing in them.
Yeah, and you had to double check that they were all cleared.
And if you watch Beyond Dusk, our short film, it's available on our website. It's VFX.
The Flash is all VFX, and we're poor. Like, we don't have any money. Like that whole thing, the producer had to his parents or something paid for it. Like, I'm still not even sure, right? His
on the
family
VFX?
paid for it. Well, for the short.
Oh, for Beyond Dusk?
Yeah.
No, he paid for it. Gabe paid for it.
But it was his story and everything.
Right.
And yeah, we did we asked one of our friends to do VFX because we're like, we don't want anyone to get hurt, and we just cut it really. He just cut it like really.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Cruz, one of our camera operators, he did the VFX for both the gunshots, and it's a 10-minute short film. It was for a competition, but it looks great. It looks phenomenal, and they're on point. And it's funny because Cruz, he gave it to me. He's like, my friend and I farted these out. Sorry, they're not up to par. And I'm like, where does this not look good to you? I mean, these gunshots they look real. And, the flashbang, the smoke, everything about it, it looks on point. So why did they need any kind of rounds? Or why did they need, blanks or anything on set when we live in a world now where we have this technology?
And if people like us who are a very small team can achieve this, there's no way that their team have done the same thing, and it would have been significantly cheaper for them because they could have called in favors or whatever. They just didn't want to pay I don't know. I'm not on that side.
It's always easier to do. It's always easier to do stuff in camera. If you can get it done in camera, it's going to be easier and save you some time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they want to do, but also I don't think they had a plan. And it sucks. Okay,
we're outside of it. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Lately you realize how many movies don't have a plan of attack these days that have hired bigger names attached to them, and they don't storyboard or shot list because they say, oh, it's just going to change when we get to set anyway. And it's like, not if you stick to your plan. And there are bigger names out there that people obsess over that cut corners in that sense. Now, I'm not saying that a shot list for how you're going to shoot your movie is as detrimental as gun safety. I mean, but I'm just using it as an example.
No, for
There's
sure.
a lot of planning that gets neglected these days by bigger companies out there, and it's no longer a game of quality, but a game of quantity, and it's a bit terrifying.
Yeah, that has to do with the streaming wars.
That's the streaming wars.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's it's a very sad tragedy that it happened altogether, and it shouldn't have. Not in today's day and age. I mean, we've got CGI. Everything is CGI, and you could easily computer-generated graphics for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's why we brought up Beyond Dusk, because it had been done that way.
Yeah.
And back to, we have no money. Like, we really,
Right.
I mean,
most
they were
independent films and production companies, they don't. They rely on, the fans and volunteers and all of that stuff, raising funds while creating a movie. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, prime example. They barely had any money. They were selling shit off to make money for Evil Dead.
I want to say the VFX that got done on #Shakespeare Shitstorm from Trauma Entertainment.
Oh yeah, they said that was quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Really? They did?
I mean, it was a chunk to Trauma.
I was under the impression that the fans did it for free.
They got a really big discount,
Down in that guy in Austin. Yeah, some guy in Austin.
Nice.
Anyway, a lot of you're right. The fans help keep it alive.
Yes. I mean that's why I like indie films. They're fans of the genre usually that they're creating. And Harjar, your question was basically answered without actually asking the question. I seen your question pop up. Harjar's was, is there a future for indie CGI in indie films? And we sort of kind of like answered that without asking that question.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is that for us, it's really intimidating because that's not our forte. Like, I have no idea where to even like start with that, so that's why it's like scary to me. But I mean, yeah, if you're someone who's interested in doing CGI and offering After Effects, join like reach out to independent filmmakers and be like, hey, I provide this service.
Yes.
And just build a resume. And the cool thing about it is that, like, earlier Joe had mentioned our key art is from someone in Greece. The cool thing about the internet, the wonderful thing about the internet is that it's just made the world so much smaller and bigger at the same time, and that you can work with people all over the world.
And I believe the animators we're going to be working with are from Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So. That's crazy. It's how big the world is and how close we are, and how we are so connected but also disconnected all at the same time. It's a crazy world. I agree with you, Catalina. I love indie films. You can just see the blood, sweat, and tears that go into their films. And then my whole thing for putting the tweet out, that's how I got in touch with Catalina here, is I put a tweet out looking for independent filmmakers, actors, actresses, anybody in the industry that want to talk about their projects and, give more light to independent films, because they don't have the big money behind them. They don't have New Line Cinema or Paramount throwing money at them. This is done on your budget, usually out of your pocket, and the cast and film. Vincent DeSanti from Womp Stomp, when he was creating Never Hike Alone and Never Hike Alone in the Snow, people barely took a paycheck, right? These were actors and cameramen and all of that were usually volunteering or taking very little pay, and they were using their fans, utilizing their fans to say, hey, you're a fan of Friday the 13th. This is a fan-made film for Friday the 13th. You want to help us back it? We're going to give you like Blu-rays behind the scenes and all sorts of fun stuff. I think indie films and indie productions is the future of film.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I just hope more people become more open-minded to it sooner than later.
Oh, I think they will. 13 Fanboy, like I was talking when we were offline, when we were just chit-chatting this morning, 13 Fanboy released on the 22nd, fan backed, 110% fan backed. And it was a story of a fan, a Friday the 13th fan, who then stalked and murdered and tortured the actors of Friday the 13th. And Deborah Voorhees, she was in the film Friday the 13th, and it utilized numerous actors from there, even C.J. Graham and Kane Hodder, both Jasons themselves. And fans were so excited to get on that I think their backer went like that. The 1 minute I looked at it, it started. Next thing you know, they already hit their goal. I was like, holy crap! And I
giving it his blessing, then it's
of course
all right.
Yeah.
C.J. Graham. I think that guy probably will attach himself to anything Friday the 13th, which is there's nothing wrong with that, because he's very adamant about pleasing his fan base, and that's pretty fucking awesome in my opinion.
And that is the cool thing about horror, is that horror actors are really awesome people. Like, they do truly love the genre. They love their fans. They want to be inclusive. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Horror fans are great.
I think so as well. And it's a small niche, but it's big. It's hard to explain. It's small, but it's big. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen a community of horror as a whole, horror in any other genre, comedy, action. Maybe it's just not as big. I don't really know, but I've seen more love and more fandom within the horror community than any other genre in the filming in filming.
Yeah, they're like also the most vocal fan base. Yes,
I will agree. Definitely. We are coming up on that time. I know I've taken a lot of your guys' time today. I don't want to take it up anymore on your Sunday. I had a pleasure having you on, but before we end or go anywhere, is there anything you want to shout out? Shout out your friends, any projects, any whatever you guys want to shout out here.
Clive Barker podcasts. If you like Clive Barker, why aren't you watching the Clive Barker podcast?
Where can we find this Clive Barker podcast? And is it called Clive Barker Podcast?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, like that's literally the name of the podcast. They've been around for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then just if you Google it, it'll bring up their website.
Yeah. And
and they're on YouTube and you know all the and we're currently doing a D&D campaign that's based on Clive Barker like worlds with the Barker cast. That's been interesting because none of us know how to play D&D. We have one person in the campaign who's really good. He's a seagull that talks.
He's keeping all our characters alive.
And he's basically keeping all of us alive. And he's like, "Are you sure you want to make that decision?" Like he's making sure that we're all okay. So if you're new to D&D or you want to like laugh at people that are terrible at it, like there you go.
You can watch us fumble the ball repeatedly.
It's a mess. It is a mess.
But it's fun. Then there's the A to Z's of horror that they're doing.
We have Clive Barker podcast, and he jumps on because they're doing they're going through Clive Barker's A to Z's of horror, and I'm reading it right now for my YouTube, which is called Barkers and Briefs, where I wear lingerie and read Clive Barker short stories. I did the entirety of the Books of Blood, and then we're gonna finish out the year on A to Z's of horror. We do kind of like everything.
So
I get distracted really.
So if you watch Barker podcast or the Barkers and Briefs, there's going to be cross promotion, so it's easy to find both dicks. And then Nathan Gershon, he's our producer and star of Vicemares. We love the guy. Thank you for being in our movie, and thank you for
same thing for Corey. He puts up with us a lot.
Our cast and crew, man, we use the same people and we love them. They're our family, and
that's
we're just
awesome.
happy that.
That's awesome. I definitely thank you guys for coming on here and sharing your experiences in the film industry. I am excited to see Vicemares. I'm super excited because I was a really big fan of Mandy. I like drug-induced, fueled imagination. So I'm excited to see this. Thank you again for coming on. I'm going to hit you up a little after the show just to make sure I got the name spelled right, because when I edit this video and put it up on YouTube and on my podcast, I want to make sure that I have credit given to the proper stuff like Clive Barker podcast, Barker and Briefs, and I want to be able to confirm all the social links because, cross promotion, if I can get your guys' stuff out there even more amongst my community, why not, right?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Of course, like I said, I'm a big fan of indie films. I support them 110%, and producers.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Yes, and thank you for talking with us from Regal, and you're very excited for their work. You can't wait to see. I know, right, Catalina? Again, if you guys want to catch them, here are their links to what I have right here. They also have Twitch. They do have Twitch, Little Spark Films. It's right there if you want to check them out. They have a double feature that they do on their channel. I think it's about monthly.
Yeah.
Sorry. I meant to fix all the Twitch stuff yesterday, and then I didn't.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure they know where to catch you guys at. You can get them at littlesparkfilms.net. Their Facebook, Little Spark Films. On Vimeo, Little Spark Films. That's their Indiegogo right there. If you want to back this Vicemares film that's in production, go for it. I just want to point
out VFX
and shares too. I will take the shares as well. Thank you.
Yes, share.
Our plan on Vicemares is rotoscoping. So if you don't know what rotoscoping is, Google it. But if you've seen A Scanner Darkly,
yes,
we're getting insane. Okay.
Nice. That's good. That is definitely good.
This Indiegogo will go too.
Right on. And if you guys are on Twitter, make sure you follow Vicemares and LSF Tweets. Those two right there, share. Even if you can't afford to back an indie program or a project, sharing, because you don't know who in your circle would want, that has the extra funds to back something. So sharing is, I think, one of the biggest things. Retweets, sharing on Facebook, Instagram, putting it out there.
Yes. Like I said, I like sharing. Yep.
Awesome.
Because we've been there before too with our friends projects. So
yeah, sharing is
thank you so
caring.
much for the opportunity. I've really enjoyed chatting. Like, this is so interesting because, like, I've never done anything like this before. So.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here and taking the time out of your Sunday and away from your family and whatnot to come and hang out with us. So thank you very, very, very much. And I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Long flesh.
Oh, that was so fun, guys. That was so fun. I don't know about you guys, but I really, 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 really enjoyed talking to LSF Productions. It was great getting to see their viewpoints on films, talk about their projects, how they got started. Thank you guys for being here and being present. Thank you for the questions that you guys have been asking. It's really awesome to share this with you guys live. It's definitely different when I record these interviews, like with Andrea Perone. But I really love these live shows because you really get the feel and you guys can ask questions. I think it's always great. Thank you, Joe. So Joe is who we were just speaking to today. Let me get them out here. Hold on here. There is Joe, and then there is Catalina. That is their personal Twitch. Those are their personal Twitch. And if you are wanting to check out their actual Twitch for their LSF production, that is right here.